Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Unacademy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Success Sampath interacting with you. Do you want to become IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS? We Unacademy, we have been waiting for you. With top educators of India and meticulously designed quality content. Ladies and gentlemen, once you enroll yourself in Unacademy, you will undergo a great learning experience. You know very well about Unacademy. This is India's largest and the best online education platform. What are all the benefits you are likely to get once you enroll yourself in Academy? In Unacademy, if you ask me, yes, you got daily live sessions. Like what do you do? What do you interact with me now? You can chat with your educator and you can engage in all round discussions, especially productive discussions. You can ask all your genuine doubts. Not only that, and you can also participate in the answer polls. All these things you can do in the sessions going on. And you've got structured courses based on the pattern of examination and syllabus of UPSC Civil Service Examination, ladies and gentlemen. And so we ensure you never get deviated from the expectations or the very spirit of that UPSC. It is not knowing the stuff, knowing to deliver the stuff, because delivery matters. It's not what you deliver, rather, how do you deliver? For that, we have got a mechanism to evaluate your preparation process at various stages, especially through regular mock tests, peace programs, and you get detailed analysis, say report based on your performance. You will come to know where you are strong, where you are weak. Not only the time you have taken to consume, especially in solving a question. Right. And beyond that, you got unlimited access to the live and recorded videos. You can learn from anywhere, anytime. And beyond that, whatever may be your electronic device, whether it is mobile phone, laptop, desktop, ladies and gentlemen, you can avail all the benefits part of this Unacademy platform. For that, what you have to do, you have to download Unacademy learning app immediately, whether it is Android or iOS, ladies and gentlemen. You can that get all access to all the benefits immediately. Right. Who is this interacting with you? This is Success Sampath from Chennai. Got exposed to the field of engineering, management, legal education. That's my unique experience. And apart from that, the 25 years of coaching, especially aspirants for civil service examination, with my team, because of that particular process, that of course the mission, I could witness 250 plus results, as that my students, of course, working in different parts of India and in some of IFS, that in abroad as well. It is as IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS, ladies and gentlemen. What is the vision of mine? Yes, to provide career solution, especially by enabling youths of India to start with, later to embrace the global community. And you can also reach me in the Telegram channel, even YouTube channel, and you can also that view me in Unacademy platform in the special sessions every day. And you can use my ID, ladies and gentlemen, Success Sampath or even Sampath Tiruvengidam. Yes. Yes, I'm sorry. I think. Right, it's got corrected. It's not only me. We've got, more than 100 plus, that top educators, that to achieve this particular purpose of yours. Right. In UPSC Civil Service Examination, we've got, more than 15,000 courses, subject specific module, duration specific module. The two major programs we are talking here, the Plus program and Iconic program. What is this Plus program? You got everyday live classes, test series, unlimited practice sessions. You got structured schedule mechanism. You can choose, according to your convenience, whether it is, the 12 months program or 24 months program. Use my referral code, say SUCCESS, to avail maximum 10% discount. And more than this, we strongly recommend Iconic program, which has got the unique feature. You will be allotted a personal coach, a mentor to take care of you, especially to understand your nature and suggest study planner accordingly. even to give you the personalized feedback, and also to train that in everyday answer writing practices. Ladies and gentlemen, you got that apart from all the benefits of plus, you got that this unique feature, say personal coach. Here also you can go for 12 months program or 24 months program. Please use my referral code to avail 10% discount, say success. Technically speaking, you end up paying mere 80 to 100 rupees per day basis if you calculate, not even your expenses for your evening snacks, but you ensure your career with that. Yes, I think this is the right time. The very purpose of our interaction today. Let us begin. You can also watch my, the previous videos in your leisure times, ladies and gentlemen, so that it is in that continuation, of course, but of course, let me treat you, that as if there are some newcomers too every day. Right. The very, very important subject matter when you come to know, that in UPSC Civil Services Examination, especially in the mains, the very popular subject that's called sociology. It's highly scoring. It has got other advantages also. Apart from scoring more than 450 marks, that should be, that why can't, why not? Yeah, I'm keep on emphasizing. Small aim is crime. Think big. Aim high. In Tamil we say, Ulluvadellam Uyar Ullal. Ladies and gentlemen, only when you aim at star, at least you can land on moon. Right. So let's appreciate the process, that be. Nothing wrong. It's not simply fixing ambition after that sleeping well. Right. So that ambition will never allow you, that to sleep. Yeah. Because the dream, as Dr. Kalam put it, the dream that you don't get in sleep, that dream that never allows you to sleep, that's very important. It's good to have that dream of achieving, becoming topper, that, and you have to do, that, and you make difference once you become part of, bureaucracy. Definitely you can do it. As that's a couple of my students, making and getting, the best collector award from the Prime Minister of India for your kind information, ladies and gentlemen. So it's not only that. This particular subject matter, yes, sociology, it's not only scoring in optional subject, you can also parallelly score in general studies portion, especially paper 1, society portion, and paper 4, ethics and integrity we are talking about, especially case studies for 130 marks. And you got a essay paper also. Out of 8 domains of essay, 1 domain allotted for this, the sociological subject matter called society. It is good, that not only that, even in the interview, you're going to arrive at decision. That should be well balanced without contradicting, right? So you should understand, you don't go against the established principles of the Indian nation in all your, presentations, right? You're going to be part of, executives, right? When that is the situation, you should reflect the value system of Indian society, the well-balanced preparation where you will be trained through this subject matter called sociology, because which has got a core concept called objectivity, which expects you to see the two sides of a single coin. That too you learn from various perspectives: structural functionalism, conflict school of thought, even symbolic interactionism. Even in paper 1, paper 2 of Indian, the society, the sociology, paper 2, where you come to know Indological perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, yes. So the role of, the perspective is very important. So as to understand the very spirit of sociology that expects you to be objective, practice value neutrality, so that you understand truth. So sociology is all about making study over society, science of society. Society, well, it is not mere people, more than people. It is otherwise called system or network of relationships existing among people. It is not this or that. It's encompassing all round relationships. That's why it is called social relationship. It's a broad term. Yes, it is that way. It's not mere marital, familial, that your relatives in, kinship, that educational, economic, political, religious, and of your identity, maybe caste, class, language, race, gender, and the very nature of society undergoing phenomenal change, structurally, culturally, functionally, all these things put together. This is what you are going to, you are already living in society. You are part of this society. Society is in you. That exercises, constraints in you. Don't do this, don't do that. Otherwise, you do this. Recommendation, prescription, and proscription also. You got social values, social norms, custom, tradition, belief, faith pattern, even the language. Yes, it is that way, all part and parcel of the culture. After all, culture, it's a way of life, style of life, which is said to be the blueprint of society. Ladies and gentlemen, so this way, this is what it's all about your living. What do you know already? I'm not going to teach you anything in a new in the name of that sociology, because you know everything, ladies and gentlemen, that you are going to admit at the end of every session. Probably you may not be knowing the exact nomenclature, the key words, part of sociology, but I'll be supplying. That there comes my role to connect your understanding. That especially the sociological keywords with your understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, my role is simply connector role. I'm not going doing great job and all, ladies and gentlemen, because you know everything. My role is very simple. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about. Of course, this sociology, of course, its relevance in UPSC as syllabus. Then in the line of, that discussing about thinkers, that the sociologists, the founding fathers of sociology, especially. In the previous, that session, we spoke about, Karl Marx, especially he belongs to structural functionalism. I mean, the conflict school of thought. And you got another perspective called structural functionalism. See, I'm also biased. I'm talking, structural functionalism. See, I'm a systematic guy, see. Not like that, I'm just kidding you, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, you got major perspectives. So our, that emphasis after Karl Marx, today we are talking about, going to discuss in an elaborated manner about, Max Weber. He is also falling in the line of Karl Marx, but Max Weber has got his own difference of opinion with Karl Marx. It is a change from within. Right. So as Karl Marx, went after Hegel, later, that had his own, that difference with Hegel and replaced idealism by, that the very, Marxism. Max Weber, running after, the Karl Marx. But otherwise, most of the contributions of Max Weber, ladies and gentlemen, you will come to know, it is reactionary, reaction or criticism to the contributions of, Karl Marx. You will come to know, but it is within the tradition of conflict school of thought. Within the tradition of, Marxism, you will come to know, ladies and gentlemen. So this, that, so and a brief, because all ideas, as said by Karl Marx, has got its own root. So you have to understand the biography, his socio-cultural economic background, so that you understand all of his contributions. This Max Weber said, sociology is nothing but, that interpretative understanding of social action. Even what I do is called social action. Action influenced by society, because I've got a vision. I've got a vision to enable you so that, that I eradicate unemployment from Indian soil. Not only to start with India, later to embrace the globe. Otherwise, to ensure a career for you. Action influence, because I want to be part of the solution. This action is influenced by the society. Why? You want to be part of the solution. You're going to, that fix all, you're going to address all the grievances on the part of Indian people, the whole humanity. That's why you want to become officer. To begin with, you want to become civil servant of India, maybe later, international civil servant, maybe even as political executive, who knows, ladies and gentlemen. So that all your actions influenced by society, that is called social action. So, but this demands interpretation. How do you interpret that particular social action? There, this Max Weber talking about, Wittgenstein approach, sympathetic introspection approach, you will come to know. This social action, he also defines using, his own tool, methodology, of course, otherwise called ideal types. It's a tool, you will come to know. He will be, the defining, each and every concept by fitting into this, that format, framework. Not only that, in the same way, he has generated, other concepts, based on power, authority, even bureaucracy, to increase the efficiency of the very capitalistic, that a mechanism. Capitalistic society, that the role of bureaucracy is crucial. That's what Max Weber, but he was quite pessimistic about both capitalistic society and the alienation may happen because of bureaucracy also. It is countering, Karl Marx. Yes, not only that, that when Karl Marx said, economic infrastructure shaping superstructure, he took other way around. Especially he says the role of religion, especially in influencing economic institutions, say in the development of capitalism, where that he studied all the world religions. Finally, he came to the conclusion, especially the Eastern Oriental countries, could not see economic development or even underdevelopment because of the religious belief. Karma, dharma, pava, punya, transmigration of soul. This notion ultimately rationalizing, otherwise they are completely preoccupied with otherworldly life, that is life after death, that notion. So he, that actually came to the, but whereas that very religious spirit, in the Protestantic ethics, especially ethic, that supported the very growth of capitalism in the Western countries, he says. So it is other way around when comparing with, Karl Marx. So superstructure shaping infrastructure, you can speak this way. But in spite of that, he said only causal pluralism. Causal pluralism in the sense, it is not one-to-one relationship. There are so many causes for a particular, that event. This is one among, religion is one among the causes, the factors responsible for the success of capitalism in the West. So it is that way. Most of his contributions came in reaction to, the very Karl Marx. This is what our agenda, to discuss everything in an elaborated manner. Then finally, we will come to know, that to discuss about the resources to be consulted to enrich your understanding more. But if you simply watch all my classes and you sit with me, sit in front of me with notes, note and pen to take notes. Even you can type parallel in your system. That's definitely, I think that you don't need much reference also, but in spite of that, to take you to the next level, you need the resources, ladies and gentlemen. This is right time. Yes, I think having spoken about what is sociology, importance of the sociology, it will be appropriate for us, to enter into the very relevance of our topic and UPSC Civil Service Examination. So this is what your thinkers portion, ladies and gentlemen. In paper 1, if you are very strong in this unit, the paper 1 preparation is over. The thinkers portions, this is what, because more than 200 to 250 marks for which you get from this particular unit. Otherwise, the whole syllabus itself designed in such a way. Thinkers, what are their contributions, the theories, perspectives, keywords, concepts. In other units, you got marriage, family, kinship, education institution, economic institution, even the social change. There also all these thinkers will be again entering into the units. This theory said by this person, this particular concept said by this person. What is this? So same subject matter presented, of course, it enriches your understanding in both the ways, ladies and gentlemen. When you do the same in Indian context, that is what your paper 2. Sociology syllabus is very simple, right? Society has got various aspects. For every aspect, you got social institution. That is what paper 1, paper 2, ladies and gentlemen, and how that society changes. For the theories, for the thinkers, and global sociologists, Indian sociologists, case studies. What more? This is what, very simple. Of course, you know about it. Only thing, as I told you earlier, right, I just quantify your understanding. I just formalize. Otherwise, you document your understanding, ladies and gentlemen, in the name of preparing for sociology. Yes, this is what the syllabus I said, where we spoke about, that Karl Marx already belonging to conflict school of thought. Today, it is in continuation, because most of the contributions of Max Weber, when it is going to be, the reactionary, of course, you call even response, because, these are all theories, it will be very maligned word to say reaction. Response will be appropriate, ladies and gentlemen, that looks decisive, right? So, social action, ideal types, authority, bureaucracy, even the very religion, role of religion in economic development, other way around, superstructure shaping infrastructure we are talking. This is what we are going to discuss. So this is over. It isn't that serious. The next person, it will be, that quite convenient for us to relate, because you please, that if you have not watched my previous video, you please watch in the YouTube. It's available. Of course, you will see the continuity. Anyway, I will treat you as if, you're a newcomer, a new learner, like, that I will try to do justice. In spite of that, if you got any queries, you can also parallelly type there. I'm there too. I'm here to respond to you, ladies and gentlemen. Right. So this is what our, that relevance here. Part of UPSC Civil Service Examination. Yes. Let's move. Max Weber. Yes. We introduced, this gentleman, Max Weber, even in our basic concepts also, because when we spoke about status quo, when Karl Marx very much, concerned about, even worried about, otherwise emphasizing the important role played by economic resources. And he gone to the extent of defining the very term called social classes in terms of ownership over economic resources. But Max Weber differed from his opinion. He took to another level. It's not mere money, more than that, lifestyle. Are you capable of influencing the market situations? Are you capable of creating demands in the market? You understand in the current context. Ladies and gentlemen, so it is called status group. Social class, when Karl Marx said, Max Weber said status group. It is that way. A difference, taking, adding social dimension to the economic dimension of, the very Karl Marx. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not only that. Yes, this gentleman came from law to sociology. I said, as my background, right, that not only law, I told you other exposures also, sociology, not to practice in law. Of course, if needed, I may practice, right? It is that way, right? Law to sociology, the exposure we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, so that not multifaceted personality. He was a soldier, professor, politician, that a legal expert, then sociologist. See, probably he would have understood the multi-dimensional aspects of society. That would have enriched his understanding, I believe. It becomes too simple for you to analyze things in the world. Otherwise, it's not seeing in a parochial way, narrow-minded way, seeing only one side of the coin, right? And that making and becoming judgmental finally. No. The exposure probably would have helped him. Of course, came under the German idealism, even the days of Immanuel Kant. Even we spoke yesterday. What is that? The very idealism of Hegel. German ideas, the role of ideas. Ideas were responsible for the change in the world. He came under that influence. But very interested in the Roman, of course, church, Roman institutions. You call church in those days, religion is otherwise. Politics are, the polity called as, that state, church state, very well. That's what those days. But of course, was very much interested in understanding, that's why he studied all the religions in the world. Of course, theology, study about religion. Not only that, economics, that's why, he could understand Karl Marx very well, right? Especially the medieval history and philosophy. Yeah, so the very multifaceted personality, gentlemen, this Max Weber we are talking, that is why the essence, which has got its own, impact. Even the people belonging to public administration, they can't outside, because the bureaucracy, the Max Weber's role, crucial, ladies and gentlemen. Even in the political science, generally speaking, Karl Marx, the Max Weber, they are all social scientists in general. Then, of course, we start celebrating them in different social sciences because of their contributions having impact on different social sciences. That will be appropriate to speak that way. Of course, the impact on sociology, that's why they have become one of the founding fathers. Yes, he laid the foundation for German sociological society. Of course, this is all, that you have some idea. His methodology is otherwise called historical analytical method. He analyzed, took into account the whole society, especially in its multiple, the dimensions. And he also, that agreed the important role played by, that economic resources, importance of economy in social life. Of course, that here he qualifies, that entered already, entrenched upon the world of, conflict school of thought, Marxism, of course. But what's this, the family background? If you ask me, that's what, that even in sociology we emphasize, you are the byproduct of your socialization in all your action, in your personality, in your character, in your ambition, in your day-to-day, that implementation of your, or discharging of your duties, you will see that. Because, that's the impact, of course, socialization, you are brought up. Right, it would have gone to the gene level, let me say that way. Yes, because his family background, the hedonistic bureaucratic, hedonism, here pleasure is better than pain, the bureaucracy is here criticized to some extent, right? Bureaucratic father, father part of bureaucracy, civil servant, of course, hedonism, pleasure, pleasure seeking person, not hardworking, sophisticated personality, you say in Tamil, Sogavasi, it is that way. So maybe the pleasure-seeking person, that particular thing. And of course, Calvinist religious mother. Calvinism says work is worship. Of course, that it is part of, Protestantism of Christianity. In Tamil we call, that Seyyum Thozhile Deivam. It is that way. Work is worship. Even karma theory, of course, ladies and gentlemen, you can reach God even by performing, discharging your duty flawlessly. Ladies and gentlemen, as we do now, as you do with me, ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So what happened, right? But see, two different ideologies, the two different perspectives. It should be complementary. Unfortunately, that it went wrong. the family background, of course, between father and mother, the marital tension. Ultimately what happened, he was brought up by his aunt, and she was a pious lady, and that also, that encouraged him to study world religions. And you will come to know when you go through, ignore materials, it has got all stories, blah blah, but that's fantastic to know, so that you understand the contributions better, because each and every idea has got its own historical roots. If you don't understand the context, probably you may not be appreciating, probably you may be misunderstanding otherwise, if you miss that context, ladies and gentlemen. Right, so I think we spoke already, this Max Weber always running after individual, because Karl Marx said society is more than individual, even in the conflict school, but not subscribing the structural functionalism view. Rather, the Karl Marx said society as social formation, but with full of contradictions, where that will rule him like that. So society is more than individual. That's what Karl Marx. But Max Weber differing from Karl Marx, saying that individual is more than society. He will speak on behalf of individual. That is what you are going to see, witness in all of his contributions. It is another paradigm shift within conflict school of thought. That his response to the Karl Marx. Of course, all of his lectures, talking about science as a vocation, politics as a vocation, all those things, as a profession. It is that way, that he is very famous. I think it is right time. Let's take some more. Right. So that his that contribution, especially to the journal, the German-based, the journal we are talking about, and his very approach is called the Verstehen approach. Verstehen means understanding, interpretative understanding. It is not, that, that's what I used to say, just imagine a situation, right? I should not say, it may be, of course, that why Indian leaders go for, foreign leaders, it should not hurt our people. Maybe, see, we have become selfish to some extent, I'm sorry. See, you just imagine a situation now, Trump writing something. You have never seen Trump speaking always, right? Trump, President of United States of America, writing something. People will say, he's writing. But what happens, right? The very evening news comes, Trump is going to resign. Hello, I'm just talking. It's just for, imaginary situation. So you thought, he's just writing. So of course the media, people thought, he's just writing. Finally, the press release says, that the Pentagon release says, that resigning. Wow. I thought that way, because for every action, you may have, that some, that opinion or some understanding. Actor has got special meaning for all of his actions. Let me repeat once again, the one example I used to mention, when JFK visited NASA, there was, that, the junior staff, brooming. And JFK asked, that what you are doing? And he said, Mr. President, I am helping NASA to put a man on the moon. See, you're thinking he's simply, that sweeping. So it is that way you thought, see the thing, it is understanding the big picture. So actor has got special meaning for all of his actions. Even you are interacting with me, you are knowing, that the subject matter called social, you're going to score, becoming, officer, cool. It's not mere job, it's career. You're going to be part of the solution. That's a great purpose. You got your own special meaning. Others may not simply understand. So if you want to understand the real meaning of, each and every action of individuals, you have to understand from the eyes of actors. It's not simply becoming judgmental, simply making opinion about others. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very easy to be judgmental. You start, for that you have to interact. This is called sympathetic introspection also. Actor has got special, that meaning for all of his actions. For that you have to enter into interaction. You have to enter. That you establish liaison, relationship. So this is fantastic. I'm speaking from individual perspective. That's why individual is more than society, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. So it talks about necessity of analyzing the human motivations, actions, the relationships in a scientific way, right? That is objectivity. That talks about two sides. If at all, maybe sometimes you may understand right also. Who knows? Partially it may be correct. Sometimes it may not be. So that is why scientific way talks about objectivity. Try to understand from, got the point, actor's perspective, individual's perspective. This is also called sympathetic introspection. Why? Then only you can capture the emotions involved. Empathy, sympathy, the benevolence, kindness, whatever may be. Otherwise, you will simply, that start to accuse, hey, this guy, That is what happening now. People have become, complaints box. Even the role of opposition is to oppose everything. It has become, that impatience on the part of everybody. That's what happening. Unruly scenes in the parliament we are talking about. Of course, ruling dispensation should understand to fix up, all those things we are talking about day-to-day basis. Yes, sympathetic introspection. You capture the emotions involved in every action of an individual. That's the point. So he gave individual is more than society. And beyond that, I say the role of, that religion, ultimately, that shaping economy in that enhancing the capitalism, the Western world, rather that religion did not facilitate the growth of capitalism, the Eastern Oriental countries, especially India and China. We spoke already. So it's otherwise, the religion is called as socio-cultural structures. That is what religion. Religion is a social institution. Religion talks about, a way of life, style of life, the Hindu way of life, Islam way of life, Buddhist way of life, Jainist way of life, Sikh way of life, you speak Christian way of life. So every religion has got its own, the culture, subculture, of course, you call. So it's otherwise a religion, you can explain the very religion. That's what Max Weber's, understanding. See the nomenclatures. Religion can also be said. The socio-cultural structures, how it's playing, that effective role in shaping economic integration. See here, very well, Karl Marx said, that economy is a foundation of a building. Economic infrastructure shaping superstructure, meaning other institutions. But this guy, said other way around. No. Here, religion has become, that infrastructure shaping, other, including, that other structures, especially including economic institution. Otherwise, religion's role in shaping economic institution, the development of capitalism, other way around. It can also be interpreted this way. The very words of, Max Weber we are talking, socio-cultural structures, otherwise religion playing very important role in shaping economic organization. That's what. You're right. Because the very religion, of course, even you talk about spiritualism, that's what dominates the very scenario. Once you become, religious, ultimately you enter into spiritual, you understand, you came with nothing, you go with nothing. Why? And there comes, that your generalization or philosophy we are talking about. Otherwise, you want to make difference, that, but it has got its own rules of the game. But whereas, economic institution is running after the notion called profit. Profit, that's totally different, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, for all the sins they committed, they've got mechanism to pledge the will for charity. That's different thing happening. I think, that's a story. That's, that they want, that rebalance. That's different things happening in the world that well. Right. So the role of ideas, because, he got influenced by, that idealism also in the beginning, as I told you, that the very German idealism especially. So role of ideas in the conduct of social life, the ideas could be religious ideas, ladies and gentlemen, or socio-cultural structures. It's that way we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. And that we, even the basic concepts we spoke about, objectivity and value neutrality. Right? So it becomes path to reach that, value neutrality otherwise. But it is very difficult, that to be value neutral, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what I used to say, that the hands which served hitherto the roses, the flowers, roses, how come you can expect the hands to be free from the fragrance of the roses, ladies and gentlemen? Definitely there will be, that the fragrance, right? No individual is free from his own other influences, personal influences, especially the brought up socialization. Because even the ideas, that we say, it has got its own root, the historical circumstances, the origin. When that is a scenario, that he recommended each and every social scientist should be, value neutral. It is very difficult. In spite of that, you have to try. That demands, the practice of objectivity so that you reach that value neutrality. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the greatest thing. Of course, otherwise even the religion, that expects you to be detached, to show equal affection with everybody. But that becomes problem. That becomes problem in day-to-day life. You will be misunderstood. That's what's happening. Right? Of course, that it's expansion is the life, contraction is the death. So to maintain, equal affection with everybody. Otherwise, it's value neutral. The way with which, you speak with Prime Minister, the way with which you have to speak with your local councillor. Will you speak? Can you exercise that value neutrality? That is the point. That's very difficult. You have to do. If you do that, you are great. You are great. That's according to Max Weber. So, what is the point? So, value neutrality in social sciences, especially, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know that you should not be influenced by your own value system, which is part of your culture, part of your socialization, part of your mechanisms. You know, the various agents of socialization, part of your society. Hitherto, that is the reason we expect, even the foreign policy arena, we are saying we don't want, it's not mere strategic autonomy of the past, the defense part of foreign policy. We want to play proactive role, global leader role. So you unlearn something in the past. You unlearn from the past value system, relearn, otherwise learn new. The 21st century demands, a new set of value system. How come you can come up with, 19th century or 20th century? It may not work. One shoe cannot fit everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Fit for all approach will never work. It is that way. So different value systems. So you should be ready to give up. Here it's totally different situation. Again, they are not asking you to embrace new value system in value neutrality, to be free from all kinds of values. This is very, very important concept in sociology. Whether you speak that, for that you start practicing objectivity, then you reach value neutrality. The core essence of sociology, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about there, the contribution from, of course, the Max Weber. Probably he would have seen how the Karl Marx got influenced because of the pauperization, poor situation, was running pillar to the post. Ultimately, that started, that exercising or emphasizing the very economic role in shaping life. But he took other way around. And of course, that he is not, that probably he would have practiced that emotional intelligence, I believe, right? Because the marital tensions in the family. Yes, it is that way. So most of his contributions came in reaction. Of course, it would be right to say response. It looks maligning, right? Reaction against Marxism, response to Marxism. The contributions of Marxism was, that the countered, otherwise given alternatives, especially by Max Weber, but within the school of, the conflict school of thought, ladies and gentlemen. So you understand, only, the two people, got hurt will understand the impact. I know exactly how you feel. Only when it pains you, you will start understanding the pains of others, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, you will simply make the ivory tower approach, right? So that's what happening, that is the very purpose we are talking about, even behind the local self-government, taking the democracy to the grassroots level. The trickle-down theory should work. All the policies and programs initiated by the government should percolate down to the people. It's not simply sitting there in the centralized AC and saying that I've done this, not simply facing media. You have to come to the ground and you have to evaluate whether it is really reached the people, the original intended masses. So it's all about we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, so then only you can understand the reality. All these things you can apply in real life situations. That will change your thought, change your opinion. That's going to be very beneficial for scoring more in sociology. That is your first step. That's what the very purpose of our interaction today. Yes. So the very biography, of course, says all of his contributions, ladies and gentlemen. As we spoke yesterday for Karl Marx, you got a lot of titles, right? The general economic history, Protestant ethic of, that and spirit of capitalism. We are going to elaborate this. Even bureaucracy, it's part of your syllabus. We are going to elaborate this. Not only that, the theory of socio-economic organization. Of course, that he belongs to the very, that the conflict school of thought. You will come to know. Of course, rest of the things, the city, Max Weber law, on law in economy and society, the Max Weber, especially essays on sociology, methodology, sociology of religion, once again connecting with that, Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism. Of course, we've got authority, where we'll be talking about this on charisma you call, in institution building, of course, economy and society once again. So he's linking, the role played by economy, otherwise socio-cultural structures in shaping the economic institution. As I told you, right, he compared the global religions, of course, world religions, especially religion of China, the Confucianism, of course, religion of India, Hinduism, the ancient Judaism. Then he came to the conclusion, the role played by religion in shaping the economic institutions or economic development. So all of his contributions, the title itself will speak all of his contributions. Of course, for our practical purpose, we got all these titles, right, ladies and gentlemen? It is that way. Social action, ideal type, authority, bureaucracy, Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism. This is the right time, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take you to the next level. The first concept, social action. First contribution, the title. You know very well, social action is all about, that. Excuse me, one second, please. You know very well, social action is otherwise action influenced by society. In your opinion, it may be individual action. No, I did for me. I never took into account society. You may think that way. But when it is connecting society, no action is free from. Probably, the people commit suicide. But for that also, they've got, that's what Emil Durkheim going to talk about it. He classifies that suicide into 4 types. Societal control, societal law and order deterioration. Yeah, of course. Fatalistic suicide, anemic suicide. You're going to see everything, ladies and gentlemen, everything is connected with society. So action, why that's very bad example I gave you. Sorry, that you please, you have to help others to live. That should be your because you're part of the solution, right? Because something, see the influence, what's happening, that in and around you. Of course, social action influenced by the society. Ladies and gentlemen, so individual has got special meaning, but he, that the very Max Weber utilized ideal type method. I'm going to elaborate this ideal type separately because it's a methodology tool. It will be appropriate to say, but let me take you to this because the very sociology he explained in terms of interpretative understanding of social action. What is social action? Using ideal type method, because that talks about framework with which you define the concepts, especially you understand how it is deviant from rest of the concepts, the characteristic differences in terms of typical features you take into account, then you finally define for every notion, for every keyword in sociology you will come to know. But before going there, yes, so this action influenced by the society using ideal type method, he strictly that classified into, I can give you that SWOT. Let me give you code so that you never forget in your life, ladies and gentlemen. Don't write SWOT in examination. Okay, this is for your practical consideration. What is that SWOT analysis? Strength, weakness, opportunities, threat. For every occasion, for every event, every project, you can apply that principle. Strength, weakness, opportunities, threat. But here in sociology, especially under Max Weber social action, I'm talking about 4 types of social action. That where SWOT, recreational, work-rational, affection, traditional. Of course, recreational, it's a German name. Of course, that Germany, the goal-oriented rational action. He says, types, according to Max Weber, we are going to elaborate. Recreational, it is also Germany. Of course, that German. So, recreational, value-oriented rational action. And the third one, affective or emotional action. You get influenced. And otherwise, custom and tradition, that deciding that particular action. The traditional 4 types of, social actions, the very social action, Max Weber classifies into 4 types. That's why I gave you the code SWOT. What is that? Recreational, goal-oriented action. What you are doing now? What I am doing in front of you? I've got a goal. That is why I'm interacting with you. You got a goal. That's why you are interacting with me. Because you want to become, that part of the solution. You want to become civil servant of India. You want to make a difference in administration there. You're going to, address all those grievances of the people. Yes, that's the greatest purpose. I appreciate you, gentlemen. So that is your goal. So all your actions are getting rationalized. What do you mean by that rationalization? The logic, the reason behind all of your actions, the rationale behind all of your actions, right? So this effect action is because of the reason, because of the cause, the logical connectivity you try to establish, ladies and gentlemen. So your action, all of your actions as an individual, that is getting rationalized in terms of the goals you have fixed. Otherwise, it may be part of societal goals where also not Max Weber, even Robert K. Merton says when society talks about goals, but it's not talking about that necessary institutionalized that means to achieve them. We are yet to fulfill that our structural bottlenecks of infrastructure, whether it is health sector, education sector, we have. Though we are working hard, we are not free from problems, ladies and gentlemen. So that institutionalized means that not allowing us to reach the goal. Even the why you take into account the global state system. Of course, international fora, each and every countries they are struggling. Except few countries in the Scandinavia, some developed countries, they are unable to meet. That we are very pessimistic. Will they meet that 2030 agenda of sustainable development goals? Why? It is that way. Whatever may be, R.K. Merton, that is what he emphasized. So, society talking about goal, not means, absence of means otherwise. That's why the anami, that's why the deviance in terms of the manifestations. where he talks about conformity, innovation, ritualism, retreatums. Let it be. But here, recreational. All your actions are justified because that the goal you have fixed. We both are in same line, that on the same page, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way. So rational action involves systematic assessment of the various means of attaining goals. Got the idea now? So it is not only talking about goals and what is the mean with which you can reach that goal. So you have to assess in such a way, because even in the spiritual world, people say that the God is one. Ultimately, the paths different. That is why for great men, religion is a tool for connecting people. For small men, religion is a tool for dividing people. Different paths of the same destination. That is why that Dr. Kalam and that the Pereira, not Pereira. You talk about that very for that purpose I should take care of that Vikram Sarabhai. He immediately interacted, got the land for ISRO, all those things, all, that mature religious people coming together. It is not getting divided, ladies and gentlemen, because very well, you understand the purpose, the goal, but means are different, that's all. It is that way. So rational action involves systematic assessment of various means. It should be efficient. Once you understand, once you explore, once you do that assessment, probably you reach efficient means so that to realize the goal. Got the understanding, gentlemen? It is that way. So selection of the most appropriate means you talk about. You got variety of means. It is in choosing the mean that comes your maturity. Of course, there you increase your efficiency. You save time. Save energy, you talk that way. So it is that way. Not only that, so the rational action is not only that, it's also about methodical attainment. Methodological attainment, of course. So methodical attainment of a definitely given practical end of by means of increasingly precision calculation. Same thing. Why I'm talking Weber, especially in the book Harlamb's Orange Book, sociological themes and perspectives. The same word with different that lines. The same concept, of course, same meaning. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So methodological attainment of definitely given and practical end by means of an increasingly precise calculation of means. Are you forget about that? It is that way. You rationalize, of course, that you choose means in such a way to go to the goal. Ladies and gentlemen, so the next, that social action, recreational. It is value oriented. So the value influencing ultimately. So you choose whether you want to earn money or whether you want to serve people, whether you want to live with contentment. So it's okay, sir. I want to serve people by seeing, smile on the faces of, that the marginalized, underprivileged, special people, minorities, of course, weaker sections, Dalits, tribal peoples. Got the idea, na? So when I see a smile on their face, that's almost seeing the God on their face. There is also saying in Tamil, "Ezhayin sirippil iraivanai kaanalam." It is that way by addressing, by eradicating poverty. When they smile, you see the God in their smile. It is that way. So what is the point? So you got your own value system. That value system, ultimately because of that you choose a particular action. No, whether do we want to go to Western country, earn more money, settle. All these choices came to me when I was preparing for Civil Service Examination. You want money, you want to lead comfortable living, or you want to serve the nation. I took this decision. It's more than that. That I think my decision works now. It's not only me, that facilitate, that I become, that of course my small humble efforts could, that see a greatest results for that we made difference in the lives of so many people. So that's thanks, I thank God, for that opportunity. It is that way the value system, ladies and gentlemen. You got your own value system. With that, you choose a particular social action, whether it is materialism or, maybe spiritualism, or it is service motto, whatever maybe you talk about. So when I say values, of course, that it is general guidelines to an action. This is part of your culture. So of course, not to kill, not to even choosing vegetarianism, even justifying non-vegetarianism, your value. I'm not speaking right and wrong, ladies and gentlemen. So that is what objectivity in sociology. I won't take sides, it's up to you. I leave it to you, ladies and gentlemen. So your value, ultimately, that what happens, right? So that has got its own, that rationalization, that so that you choose that social action. So two actions, social actions. The first two is called rationalized social action. You see, you got justification for that. You got logical connectivity. You got cause and that effect relationship. You got that a reason for that. Whereas according to Max Weber, the other two that social actions, they are not rationalized social actions. They lack otherwise rationalization. It's that because one is based on that your emotion, another one is based on your faith, belief, tradition, custom. They lack rationalization. You can't question faith, ladies and gentlemen. Faith is faith. That's all. It's not ultimately going for comparison. My faith is greater than your faith. Hello, that's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's what's happening everywhere. People enter into religious competition, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, even ideological competition, that's also bad. Monarchy, democracy, that socialism, capitalism. So at the end of the day, purpose. The means are different, ladies and gentlemen, but the path, but the destination, ladies and gentlemen, once you are very clear, there won't be fight, there won't be competition. Rather, that expects you to contribute, celebrate. There comes peace. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So affective, emotional action, that you are in, that you get influenced. Maybe that. So let me say, all this, the language-based emotions, and some leaders when they speak, you see adrenaline rush, all those nerves, you will see emotional. Otherwise, because of the emotion, sometimes. Let me give you an example, right? When there was, the cricket match, that India won, of course, or, present day, that Ganguly, the tiger, Bengal tiger, of course, it's not criticizing him. Of course, he contributed enough. He made foundation. After that, our captain Cool Dhoni took to the next level, very well. Even the contributions of other leaders, of course, the cricket players, whether it is Sachin, Sehwag, all those people you should not outrightly reject. Of course, here, after that match winning, what happened? The very that Ganguly removed his T-shirt and started doing like this, and people appreciate. That on the one side, maybe that as cricket lover you would have appreciated, but what he did is emotional action, affective action. In front of that audience, it's unbecoming on the part of that very captain like that. So this is the criticism. Of course, you understand, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes our political leaders losing coolness. What's happening in the parliament? What's happening in the state legislative assemblies? Of course, that's emotional. That so in emotion you lose the purpose ultimately. So getting influenced, whatever it may be, that's happening at the religious level, even in the family. So because in family you can have emotions, because that's totally different. But that is what we say, when you go home, you take your heart. When you go to your office or public, you take your brain. You should know where you are supposed to be emotionally neutral. You have to practice emotional intelligence. But it's unfortunately, even in the highest public offices, our leaders or whatever may be, the various elites in different spheres of life, losing, even the Trump is highly criticized for that, because he's, that very provocative statements, right? Some, that the people, of course, that bring in some sort of vulgarity on the part of some leaders when they speak something that goes affecting modesty of women or affecting a particular community. I think right, it is, because this is very, very important foundation. So actions, that influenced by emotions, it is that way. The traditional action, as I told you, even, that I put this as ladies, that putting bindi, even, that the parda, of course, hanji, you're putting, that influenced by tradition, custom, nothing wrong. So you influence of the custom, the influence of the tradition. So accordingly, you choose social action, may not be. So here we are talking about both these social actions, according to Max Weber, they are lacking rationalization. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. I think it is right time, that let's move to, that next slide. Of course, part of, social action, 4 types: SWOT, recreational, recreational, affective, traditional action. Ladies and gentlemen, yes. So this social action, that not only that, all human behavior to which actor has got subjective meaning. As I told you, even in the Western approach, that the very sympathetic introspection we call, otherwise the Verstehen approach on the part of Max Weber. Verstehen means German word, understanding. For all of your actions, you got special meaning. Maybe observers may have, that some other meanings. Actor has got subjective meaning. Got the idea, na? So that is what we are. Social action, action influenced by the society, where an individual actor has got special meaning for all of his actions. That could be subjective, no doubt, because this is what sympathetic introspection. He has got his own empathy, sympathy. How passionate you are in preparing for civil service. Yes, how passionate I am in transforming you. That's nobody can measure. That is subjective. Objectively, you can't measure that. Yes, social action is otherwise called, action is social, not individual. It may be individual, but it is influenced by the society. That's why it is called, social. When I say social, the influenced by society. That's the meaning. Ladies and gentlemen, so this is otherwise, because of that, the very Max Weber gone to the extent of defining the very, the sociology as interpretative. How do you interpret? Verstehen approach, sympathetic introspection, interpretative. How do you understand? As I told you, you understand from actor's perspective, actor's eyes. So interpretative understanding of social action is all about sociology, ladies and gentlemen. So otherwise, the subjective understanding of actions of individuals in social interaction. Subjective understanding. It is not your subjective understanding. The subjective understanding of actors or individuals, especially the social interaction situation. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you move, I believe, right? It is that way, that. So people joining in the middle, please, watch from the beginning so that you understand the connectivity. And if you want to understand the contributions, why in response to Karl Marx also, though I bring context here, it will be appropriate for you to watch, previous videos also, so you understand better, right? One need not be a Caesar in order to understand Caesar, because Caesar has got special meaning. Don't say, I know. I know this attitude. I know. What is this? One need not be a Caesar. Because that Caesar has got special meaning for a particular action. You can't be. One need not be a Caesar to understand. Got the idea, na? So Caesar has got special meaning for all of his actions. If you want to understand the real meaning of that particular action, so understand from Caesar's eyes. That will be appropriate, ladies and gentlemen. I think let's move. As I told you in the beginning, right? Even the Max Weber gone to the extent of classifying the very social action into 4 types: as recreational, affective, traditional, using a tool called ideal type. It can also be called methodology. This is the Max Weber's that of course innovation, byproduct of Max Weber's contribution. Of course, you call, what is this? This is an analytical mental construct. It is abstract. It is a methodological device also, according to Max Weber. It is a theoretical tool for what you can ask that serves an investigator, that what happened, in what way, as a measuring rod. For what purpose? To ascertain similarities as well as deviations in the concrete cases. See, if I say, what is the difference between spiritualism and Marxism, the very materialism, Marxism, materialism. Got the idea, no? The difference. The difference between monarchy and democracy. The difference between otherwise parliamentary form of government, presidential form of government. For all these things, that because this is what USP, very well, completely you understand this particular entity is totally different from rest of the entities. How do you understand? Because of the characteristic, the deviance we are talking about. If they are similar, you bring under category, groups. But they are totally, they're dissimilar in the sense. It is that way. So using this ideal type method, you can also understand the similarities as well as deviations from the concrete cases. That is why a lot of, the sociological concepts, especially in sociology, not only here Max Weber and even the Robert K. Merton, part of structural functionalism, brought, they contributed tremendous concepts, enriched the very subject matter of sociology by questioning even the traditional practices on the part of structural functionalism. You will come to know, ladies and gentlemen. So ideal type is that way. It's a pure mental construct. It's a tool in your hand. It's a methodological device as an investigator, as a measuring rod to ascertain the similarities between the concepts or deviations in the concrete cases. You use that way, that's what the meaning. So it's otherwise called a typological analysis. This is a different type, that's different type. You come to, you segregate. Actually, this particular thing, that very Max Weber got inspired from the Plato and Immanuel Kant. Very well the Plato, Aristotle, that group. Of course, even in ethics, we'll be touching Immanuel Kant, well known for the very idealism. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So the disciple of Aristotle, Plato, we are talking about enriching, that especially Greek Rome, the context, very well. So Plato's contributions became, ultimately anti-establishment, the dictatorship style, because that his guru, of course, that Aristotle got, executed, well, a poison, that all those stories, and that you would have seen Aristotle, with wine, with ladies. That's wine dine culture of Rome, Greek. Even watch movie. I used to tell, that a lot of movies, that European movies especially, that you watch. That's nice. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So built by typical traits. When you talk about ideal type, it's not, something, the peripheral concepts you take into account, peripheral elements you take into account, the core elements. So ideal type is all about, the built based on the typical features taken into account, not of the common features. When you talk about, that, it is that way. Indian Parliament, of course, the Prime Minister Modi. So some USP, of course, you got opposition parties also not perfect. The symbol with which India, unity in diversity, that is, that USP. India, cultural pluralism, that is USP. India, caste system, India, joint family system. I'm telling positively. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So built on typical traits you take into account. It is that way. So Weber also gave 3 types of, ideal types. The ideal types based on the levels of abstraction. The levels of abstraction, that you talk about, ladies and gentlemen, it may be, that a particular concept you arrive at may be based on the historical circumstances. The history, that has got its own context. Say, you say Western society, yes. Even in the religion, that, Protestant ethic and spirit of communalism, that you talk about. The very, that Max Weber talking this way, and also even the modern capitalism. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's not spirit of communalism, capitalism, that will be appropriate. Of course, that it is in place of that. Ladies and gentlemen, so the historical particulars, the history is the context for that particular concept. As you say, that history specific, Western society, Protestant ethic part of, that Christianity, then the modern capitalism, it has got its own characteristic features. Sometimes the element, that you talk about, it's not element, the abstract element of historical reality. The abstract, you arrive at abstraction, a set of, features from the history. When you talk about, modern capitalistic industrial society, you need effective, that mechanism in place so as to increase its efficiency. That's why, Max Weber came up with, the bureaucracy. So that talks about abstraction, because when you talk about bureaucracy, it talks about, rule by officials. They've got hierarchy. And they are, there is a strict segregation between private and personal duties. Got the idea? They never compromise rules. It is that way we are talking about. So whatever may be, all those characteristics, the abstraction, the characteristic features that you arrive at is based on the historical reality, ladies and gentlemen, the bureaucracy. The same way you talk about, that what you talk about, land-based agricultural society here in India, Indian context, its counterpart in the European society. Of course, estate system we spoke, where we talk about feudalism. The agricultural setup, of course, agriculture-based society, the European, the context, feudalism. It's not free from conflict, that's totally different scenario. Of course, so this is that way, how the ideal types, can be built. If you talk about it, may be the 3 types, historical particulars or abstract. You arrive at, not only that, the rationalized reconstruction, the rationalized construction of a particular kind of behavior. So all economic theories come out, based in response to a particular kind of behavior. Whether it is, socialistic pattern, even the capitalist leaning you are talking about, the various theories, Keynesian theory, trickle-down theory, everything what you talk about. So it is rationalized reconstruction of a particular kind of behavior, ladies and gentlemen. So all things, that of course, so the Weber actually gave three types of ideal type. First of all, ideal type is a pure mental construct. It's a tool in the hands of investigator so that you understand, that similarities and deviations, so that you get clarity. It's not, built based on the average, that the features, based on typical features, very special, the unique features you take into account. Not only that, he talks about the three levels of abstraction. How do you arrive at, ideal types? Maybe from the history, maybe from abstracting from history, or sometimes rationalize reconstruction of a particular kind of behavior. Even economic theories can be cited. I think, so beyond that, he takes you to the next level. It is neither statistical average nor a hypothesis. You don't have, that it is not, no question of proving or disproving. It's a feature, that's all, nothing to be compared. It's not trying to prove I am correct, I'm always correct like that. It has got its own characteristic features. If you believe this concept, if you subscribe this concept, you can't that ignore this, because it's built based on this particular pattern. It is that way. So, and also do not imply ethical ideal. Got the idea, na? So that of brothels as well as religions, that don't get influenced by the value system otherwise there. So we are here not to assess, that not to judge. That is the meaning. It is neither statistical average. You can't say majority people, minority, no, nothing to do. Hypothesis, it's not, so and so arrives at, this is what my conclusion, nothing to do with that. The concepts with the particular characteristic features, he arrived at, he developed, used that as a tool. This is what, that, so the Max Weber's, ideal type, using that, the methodology, he has generated a lot of concepts, including this authority, power, even authority types, even social action types, bureaucracy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So not only that, let's take you to the next level. So ideal types provide us the points of comparison from which to observe. Example, bureaucracy. The moment, what comes to your mind when we talk about bureaucracy, sir, rules and regulation, all rules Ramanujam, sir, red tapeism, sir. And today in context, you will talk about corruption. Nothing will move, sir, without paying. From low level to high level, we talk about, you will blame the system then. But of course, let's not be judgmental. Something you make. So I don't want to accuse, any system here, but our purpose is different. So they will face the consequences in future, or maybe, of course, karma theory will work. Come back here. What is that? The primary, secondary social groups. When you say the primary social groups, we discussed in the beginning. Of course, in the basic concepts, you will come to know the family, peer group. Because small in size, they are very emotional, frequent face-to-face interaction will be there, relatively permanent. That's primary social groups. When we talk about secondary social groups, maybe trade union, association, you take part for a particular purpose. Even the residential, the gated community, for a purpose. When the purpose is over, gone. It is not 100% living there. But there are some members, living like family. That's very wrong signal. It has got its own impact on the primary social group called family. If not today, tomorrow. So we are talking that way, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose-oriented relationship, association, the interest. So you should know what is primary, what is secondary. You understand the difference. This clarity you get because of this, the prescription by Max Weber ideal type. Ladies and gentlemen, not only that, using that, he also, that divided the authority into charismatic, traditional, legal, rational. We are going to elaborate under authority portion also. You just have an idea. This classification, how you ask, based on, he took into account typical features, understood the similarities as well as deviations. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So you talk about, so it's not only that, even the particular ethics, Protestant ethics. See, in Christianity, Roman Catholic, that you talk about, the Protestant came, John Calvin came in protestation against the luxurious aristocratic life of people. So there came in a new tradition, because, these are all isms on the part of every religion. As you have in Hinduism, the Shaivism, Vaishnavism. In Islam, Shias, Sunnis. Buddhism, Hinayana, Mahayana. Jainism, Shwetambara, Digambara. It is that way we talk about, the religious dichotomies. Maybe here you talk Christianity, Roman Catholic, the Protestantism. We talk about what maybe. So it is that way. In that Protestantism itself, you got further clarification. That's what he's going to elaborate. The Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism, the Calvinism, Methodism, Baptism, Pietism, How all these concepts, that you come to know, how the differences, how the similarities, how grouping, it's using this ideal type as a tool, because they are built based on typical features, almost like in management concept we say USP, unique selling proposition. Tirupati means, laddu, but people will say Perumal also. But that perspectives, that's totally different. Tirunelveli means alva. Of course, geographical indicators like, we speak, but the point, the symbol with which, recognize. Madurai means one temple. It is that way, Delhi means, that, of course, Delhi administration, central government, parliament, it is that way. The symbol, the USP with which you associate, don't take into account symbol, the USP, the typical feature, it is that way, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about. So even when you say honesty, what is honesty? Are you aware? Truth in the long run, when you practice, becomes ultimately, very well, you will be recognized. People developing trust in you because of your truth, practice of truth. People will develop faith in you, trust in you, then you will be appreciated as a honest person. In the long run, this honesty, becomes integrity. You are man of integrity, woman of integrity because of the thing, you are honest, your practice of value system called honesty. How it came, day-to-day life, you will never lie, the truth, all these things we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, so this, that to arrive at, that this particular value system, honesty, the typical features, it has got its own, the path we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, in ethics, you will come to know more. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So I'm talking about how. So not only that, it's not ideal in the sense, ethically good, right, as, Ronald Fletcher, that ultimately, that supporting, adding value to, that Max Weber's contribution this way. Right, it is not only that, it's helping in comparative analysis and establishing causal relations, reasoning. So of course, this is what even the causal pluralism is the main approach on the part of Max Weber. That for any event, for anything to happen, there may be several reasons. This could be one among the reasons. Causal pluralism approach is all about that. So establishing causal relations, and also that it's comparison, so that this concept is different from that concept, that analysis you enter into. For that, you need this tool, ideal type. It's a pure mental construct based on, that built based on, the typical features you have taken into account, helps you to identify differences as well as similarities. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going, because it's my duty to simplify. That's the very purpose, ladies and gentlemen. Right, what is this? The idea behind the concept of ideal type is that the social phenomena, in virtue of their manifold fluid nature, social phenomena, because it's not rigid, they can be analyzed solely in terms of extreme forms of characteristics. That's what we said, typical features. That stays in your mind. Even that's what, all our movie directors gone to that extent. To say the community, to communicate the message that there should be a peace, non-violence, they involve all those violent mechanisms in the movies. Ultimately, that stays in your mind. Finally, they will say, no violence, ladies and gentlemen. What is this here? they go to extreme. Sometimes you can't even tolerate. What is this? Impractical. You see. That's cutting the very purpose sometimes. People, they take hue from there, getting inspired, and they will start practicing somewhere. That becomes style for all those immature people. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. It's not accusing them. We just observe, that's all. Nothing to do. As long as it works, it's up to you. That's what. So the idea behind the concept of ideal type is that social phenomena, in virtue of their fluid nature, it's not rigid, fluid nature and manifold, multiple, it can be analyzed only, otherwise, the solely in terms of you take into account typical features, extreme forms of, that characteristics, but which can, that never be observed in purity. That is the point. So you build, but in practice, there is always gap. So idealism, that's why, the German idealism, he got influenced, the rule of ideas. So idealism always, different from, even Max Zuckerberg used to say, it's good to be idealist. Of course, you would be bullied. Because that with idealism you can achieve that, but that will take long time. That demands passions in you. Because people are very average mindset, practical. They will never appreciate that. Otherwise, they will say the labeling theory will happen, as Howard S. Becker say. They will label you this, that. They have got their own. As the guys, that after closing eyes, when they, different people after closing the eyes, when they touch elephant, that after touching different parts of the elephant's body, they will say, different interpretations, the same way. They don't understand. It is that way that will happen in life. That's what I'm talking about. So when you build something based on typical features, ultimately, but that can never be observed in purity. Got the idea? Na? There will be practical deviations we are talking about. So that is what happening. Max Weber, that fantastically put it, ideal types, because got influenced by German idealism, ladies and gentlemen. So many ideal types can be constructed about any specific configuration. Got the idea? Na? Each selectively emphasizing one point of view and that submitting its particular. That is what we say the primary social group, secondary social group. You choose typical features accordingly. You carry that concept. You convey that idea, especially to emphasize one point of view, ladies and gentlemen. So it has got its own agenda. It has got its own goal in the presentation of the concept. That is how you build the concepts, that the pure mental construct we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way. Yes. Attributes, that they can be, they're tested. That's what the point. So attributes to test we are talking about. That's according to, Ronald Fletcher, ladies and gentlemen. So he adding, that some more. See, when you go through this thinkers portion, that maybe to understand better, that you go for the very after NCERT. Otherwise, even straight away you can go to IGNO material. Then you got Francis Abraham book and Ritzer Douglas Goodman also available if you find enough time. And otherwise, I've consulted everything. I'm giving you just, I think once you take notes parallelly, I think that's more than sufficient. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. But people will say you don't need. I'm not emphasizing you need Ritzer Douglas Goodman. If you want, you can. It's up to you. But all this, because I've taken notes, you can just refer all these things. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is right time. Let's move. So the Max Weber, that was against the view that social phenomena are unique and do not therefore, allow generalization. He was against the view. You can, that. So it's not like that. They are not unique, that the social phenomena happening, because the concept is differing, context differing. You can construct ideas. The situation is differing. Otherwise, that they do not allow generalization. No, definitely you can arrive at generalizations. That is what his concept. Actually, that if you don't arrive at generalization, you are not sociologist. Sociologists, of course, they make study over society. Otherwise, it's called science of society. And finally, after understanding scientifically, after studying systematically, scientifically, in a holistic manner, integrated manner, by taking into account all aspects of society, they arrive at report. That's called, sociological report. That's called generalization otherwise. As we say, that joint families broken down, got replaced by nuclear family. This is extreme step. But sociologically speaking, joint families are breaking down, structurally nuclear. From parent family, this guy set up nuclear family, neo-local family here. But for important occasion, celebration, he will go back to his original parent family. It is structurally nuclear, functionally joint. That will be appropriate, that observation. Ladies and gentlemen, that generalization is appropriate, sociologically speaking. Right? It is that way. So this rationality, what we are talking about, rationality is the trend of the day, because that even in the social action we were talking about, SWOT especially, we discussed, the first two actions as that rationalized, rest to non-rationalized actions. That's what part of social action using ideal type, Max Weber, the classified. This rationality is the trend of the day, because everyday day-to-day act you are running after purpose. Even our interaction is based on purpose. Your interaction with me based on purpose. So this purpose, the cause, the reason, the cause and effect, the logical connectivity. So rationality is the trend of the day. That's according to Max Weber, ladies and gentlemen. Without reason, if you do anything, you will be, that ultimately a subject of mockery. You don't know why you do. You don't know the purpose. You become ritual, gentlemen. So that is what, people criticize. Nah? Otherwise, it becomes a ritual ceremony, not knowing the purpose, what we are doing, not understanding the very core, that interest in that. Yes. So, but one thing you have to, in spite of that, Max Weber says, no society can be classified into pure rational or pure irrational, because it's a mixture of both. Sometimes, we behave like the mood swings. Sometimes we behave like fools. We don't know why we did that. It will happen for everybody. Even as there is a story. How Einstein said. Einstein said to his own deputy. That you make two holes in my that wall, so that when I go out, that my pet cats, big cat will enter through big hole, small cat will enter through small. The kitten, of course, will enter through small hole. Einstein, such a great scientist, ladies and gentlemen. So it is a story, that to terrorize human being. Sometimes that you do something without purpose. Otherwise, forget about that. This simple thing. Why the faith can't be brought under rationalization? Your belief system, faith. So in the whole life, sometimes you got purpose, all scientific, that a way of doing things, thinking everything. But you can't talk about that rationalization when you enter into the religion, the faith system, belief system. Otherwise, the passion, the mom's passion towards kids' passion towards mom, the spirit of that friendship with your friends. Just that your friend demanded, you did, over. No rationalization. It is that way. So no society is purely rational or purely irrational, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So ideal types are not rigid and fixed, but subject to social change. I think here you identify the element, the change principle. Max Weber joining the line of the very Karl Marx, belonging to the conflict school of thought, because he believes in change. Change is permanent, change is constant. Ideal types are not rigid and fixed, but because given the situation itself very fluid, manifold, we spoke, right? So it is not rigid, it is not fixed, but subject to social change. Everything will undergo change. Here he joins Karl Marx, ladies and gentlemen, of course. So welcome Max Weber, welcome to that conflict school of thought. Of course you already entered, of course I'm talking about. So Weber suggested that the major discrepancies between ideal type and reality will lead to ideal types getting redefined. What will happen? That's what changed once again. So that's it, people. Even our prayer should be, oh my God, what are all the things I can change? What are all the things I can't change? Please understand the difference between, please help me to understand the difference between two. That's what your prayer should be. So, that things can't be changed. Why you are worried? Come on, just accept. What are all the things, that can be changed? You try, you make effort. What are all the things can't be changed? Why worry? Just accept as they are. Put it simply. Why tension? It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So but for that you have to understand difference first, whether it is changeable, whether you can make, whether the efforts you are making, that is really right. Will it change? You have to, there comes your maturity. There lies your maturity. It is that way. So Weber suggested that the major discrepancies between ideal type and reality will lead to ideal types, they themselves getting redefined in the long run. So this is Abercrombie, that contribution, of course, enriching, Weber's contribution, Max Weber's contribution. Not only that. So ideal type represents, here I'm parallelly giving alternative opinion to this, each and every contribution of Max Weber, even criticism also, because all of his contributions, response of Max Weber, that they themselves, that to the writings of contributions of, the Karl Marx, So it is that way, when that is the scenario. So ideal type represents a pure form and is not expected to exist in historical reality, ladies and gentlemen. So of course, he spoke about the very generation of abstraction of ideal type from three different contexts, but it may not, you cannot trace from, this is, the Harlambas opinion. Got the idea? Na? I'm parallelly suggesting this, how people reacted, responded to the contributions and making opinion, parallel, sometimes against. So this ideal type helps causal explanation of phenomena. So that justifies. That is why social action using ideal type method, Max Weber could go for 4 types. SWOT analysis, recreational, affective, or that emotional action you call, then traditional action, that you speak that way. I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's the right time. Let me take you to the next one. Yes. Now, I think it is right time, apart from, that mild criticism, we have to speak, more also, the very criticism against this ideal type. And by the time I understand, I capture your mind voice, I picturize, that your opinion based on this concept. That is what going to get reflected in criticism even today. But don't worry, it's all about, it will take time, definitely. Criticism, many a times it is confused, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, sir. That is what concept. But if you go through, you will understand this is what the meaning in spite of our explanation. So many a times it is getting confused to be actual reality itself and not as mental construct. Sir, you are saying it is pure mental construct, but it appears practical, sir. So, but it looks totally different, sir. I get confused, sir. Yes, that is what the criticism. It's not only you. Already, there is criticism against this, but it is you can't ignore this. Yes. It is a pro-Christian bid. Are you aware of this term, pro-Christian bid? The pro-Christian bid is otherwise called, especially in the that Middle East region, especially in the that desert region. There will be thieves, and they will execute the thieves for all their criminal activities. Sometimes they executed that the dead bodies. That there will be very tall people, that maybe some 8 feet like that. Normally, they would have made coffin for 6 feet or 6.5, maybe 7 like that. But that what happens ultimately? This dead bodies, couldn't be fixed within that, coffin. What will happen? So the Middle East people, that especially the executed dead bodies of, the thieves will be, especially the legs will be cut. Dead bodies, legs will be cut into pieces so that, it fits coffin. You understand? When something is not fitting within the coffin, so you're ready to cut that dead body so that you put in that, you finish the purpose. So Max Weber, the thought about something that's called ideal type, and he has got mental picture, pure mental construct, built based on typical features taken into account. To suit that, he is taking different concepts in different that spheres and fitting in with that. And forcing that that those concepts to completely fit in with this that ideal type. So that is another criticism against Max Weber, ladies and gentlemen. It's called pro-Christian bed, into which the data forced in. Data is getting that forcible entry we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It's that way. So, and it is very complex. And next thing, this is what our practical life, if you don't understand, you will say, wow, great. Huzur, Sardar, oh my God, you will say. It is that way. It is very complex. Only expert sociologists can understand and apply. This is also criticism this way. It's not from me. It's from, that celebrated sociologists. For that, you have to apply your mind. So the criticism, but I don't think that much, complicated. But the first time when people hear, it will happen, but you can understand. And after that, you will realize, that how it is beneficial to the subject matter of sociology, how it is going to redefine your understanding in sociology, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, its usage is very limited since it cannot be used in all types of society. It has got limited, that usage. So not applicable to all type of, that social analysis. That's the point. That is another accusation, ladies and gentlemen. So when it is not for the development of general theories or concepts, it is inappropriate and it should be dropped. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So we are not going to develop, general theories based on that or concepts, because it's built based on typical features taken into account. In the sense, it says that you built based on the extreme version. How come? Definitely there will be gap between, that your ideal concept and practicality. Why you need? It is inappropriate, that it inappropriate. Otherwise, come on, let's drop it. There is also, that particular criticism against this Max Weber's ideal type. Ladies and gentlemen, so ideal types were not models to be tested. It's not a prototype. But other sociologists treat them as testable models. They are treating like, that as if, that a framework with which you can. So as, that very Max Weber did. So Weber himself often used this ideal type, that as testable models. That's why the criticism. Pro-Christian bed, ladies and gentlemen. That leads to confusion. That leads to confusion, ladies and gentlemen. You understand my point of view? Yes, it is that way. So all these criticisms and beyond that, hello, Max Weber, you talked about, the typical feature and various concepts built based on, that very typical, of course, USP like, but when you say Capitalism itself has variety of the concepts, otherwise variety of classifications. People call mercantile capitalism, entrepreneurial capitalism, industrial capitalism. You did not explain Max Weber clearly. See, now you've gone to the extent of evaluating Max Weber. You are criticizing Max Weber, ladies and gentlemen. In the very first class itself, the newcomers I'm saying. Wow, that's fantastic. See, your privilege, the prerogative, ladies and gentlemen. I think it is right. Let's move to another concept, authority. What is authority? Before going there, I want you to say, what is power? Power, of course. When I say power, powerful, ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. So power, let me come to the colloquial way of speaking. Power. Power soap. We use so that you never forget. Power. What is power? You are said to be powerful when, even in the basic concepts we discuss, when all others are incapable of doing, but you are capable. Otherwise, when all others are stopping you, acting as obstacles, in spite of that, you achieve things in the world, there you are said to be powerful, ladies and gentlemen. That is what called success. That is what called achievement. You should not get confused with achievement. Accomplishment is not achievement. There are people, even day-to-day life accomplishments they celebrate. Of course, that's different mentality. You celebrate everything, live in the present moment. That's totally different. But you have to understand, achievement is different from accomplishment. Have the clarity, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way, right? And existence is different from living. Listening is different from hearing. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand the clear-cut, that analysis, clear-cut, that meaning of each and everything. That will be appropriate. Yes, power. It is a chance of man or men. Even women, you don't come for fight. And of course, you apply maybe the origin, the patriarchal nature could be, right. It is a chance of men or women, to realize their will in communal action. See, in social, the context comes in communal action. It is a chance to realize will in communal action, in society, in collective action. You bring society here, even against, this is original definition of, very Max Weber, about power. Even against the resistance, or even when others are stopping you, limiting you, in spite of that you achieve, yay, I won. There comes, ultimately. There you are successful. There you are appreciated. It's not simply accomplishing a particular task, saying that, I achieved, I successfully completed a day, man. Whoa, what is this? It is not completing a day on Mars, on Moon. That's different context. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So then, this power is not uniform. Very well. There are people with more power, there are people with less power. That's why power difference, that's why the difference, power gradients is called as, that politics. A science dealing with this politics is called, that political science, we spoke already. When this power is backed by, that legitimacy, statute, law, even constitution, you derive power from constitution. All bureaucrats, all executives, even political executives. It's said to be authority. Who gave you authority, man? Even the writ jurisdiction, the mandamus, you command. Who gave you authority? You got, various, the types of writ jurisdiction, on the part of Supreme Court, Article 32, 226, we talk about who gave you authority. What law backing you? Is constitutionally, that you are given power. It is that way. So, legitimate, that legitimacy. How do you justify it? Justify by law, use of power. So you just imagine the roadside, if police wala, maybe, even constable in the roadside comes and, hey, come on, what you're doing? And he's part of the mechanism to enforce law and order. He has got every right to, streamline the crowd. But, a non-police wala coming in the roadside, gundas, maybe goons, thugs, morons, they are coming, hey, come on. That is threat. That is a coercion. It is a misuse of power. And he is not backed by law. It is abuse. Right? It is that way. So you have to understand, when it is not enjoying the proper backing, legal backing or legitimacy, it could be called, threat, coercion, by force, maybe. Authority is enjoying legitimacy. The legitimate use of power is said to be authority, ladies and gentlemen. So using ideal type, see the clarity you arrive at. Maybe ideal type method, he classifies that authority into charismatic or charismatic. Kareena Kapoor, Charisma Kapoor. Whenever you think about Kareena, charisma, this should come to your mind. Charismatic, charisma, the super, that's what I'm going to talk about. So superhuman ability, extra human ability, we are talking about. So that type, and traditional authority, rational legal authority, we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, rational legal authority. So accordingly, so this rational legal authority, law backing, law justifies, law rationalizes, that all of your authority, all of your, that your exercise of power. But whereas tradition, the societal custom, tradition based on which that you get authority. So people call Jagat Guru. Even the foreign policy we say Vishwa Guru. Those days Rajas, they used to have self-assumed titles. Raja the Raja. That Sri. Hello, all these things we are talking. The titles, of course, we are talking about, right? So maybe the customary practice, even to the called king, prince, like that. Okay, monarchical setup. People, that. So the custom, tradition, it is that way. So authority because of the custom and tradition we are talking about. So there is charismatic you call, otherwise charismatic authority. It's because of the devotion or obedience by subordinates. Sir, whatever you say, that's correct, sir. Madam, whatever you say, correct, ma'am. No, I said wrong. In spite of that, it looks like correct. Let me believe you, ma'am. Let me believe, sir. This devotion, a blunt devotion, people, they never question the authority. That happens in front of some personalities. Maybe because of their charisma, the superhuman ability. People never question that leadership. That happened in the past. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. So the devotion, complete surrender, saranagati, the devotion, obedience by subordinates to the perceived personal qualities. I will never question you, madam. I will never question you, sir, because whatever you do, that will be always correct. This belief, ultimately, you develop that, devotion towards that. So that exceptional qualities of the leader and able to sway, influence, able to control with that. Even in some movie, that Talaiva, that all followers in Tamil Nadu, it's happening. The fan-based association, political parties, of course. Talaiva, udal mannukku, uyir unakku. So my body is for this, that land. My soul is for you. This devotion. Some, that, of course, the celluloid people, of course, commanding, that today's world, some Rajinikanth, of course, all those things. In the past, of course, MGR, even NTR in Andhra Pradesh, we are talking about. So these personal qualities, exceptional qualities of the leader, with that, they are capable of, that influencing or controlling the followers by direct emotional appeals. That ultimately the emotional appeals, even they will, that trigger you by their words. That happened in the past, even in the Dravidian history, the oratorial skills, with that, they came to power. They brought down Congress administration and they established by, the speech. And also they utilized, employed the actors, like MJR, that purpose ultimately, that even by songs and scripts, even Karunanidhi himself, wrote scripts to a lot of movies and speech. Anna, Karunanidhi, Dravidian people, that from north you may not be knowing the South India, Dravidian history by oratorial skills, speech, and getting the support of Tamil language and its rich, that classical literature. Even, that they employed the Kannadasans, the songs, and, MGR, that utilized in film movies, to spread it has become a propaganda for the parties. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. So with that, that the followers direct the emotional appeal, which excite devotion and strong loyalty. So once, that they become member of the party, till death they will be like that. Because the mesmerism, the complete surrender, devotion. So this charismatism, that's what. So of course in Christianity people say the Jesus, even in all, religions, they by seeing the God, wow, ecstasy. Even religious leaders, even spiritual leaders doing ecstasy. They'll go to that state. It is that way. So whatever may be, that, in every religion you got that, that the God, of course, even Prophet Muhammad, of course, that the Alexander Great, of course, that the Emperor Great, ultimately, but he went with nothing by showing. asking, that to keep his, hands, that above the coffin. You know the story, right? And Napoleon Bonaparte, even our, Mahatma Gandhi ji, the Nelson Mandela, African Gandhi we are talking, even the Fidel Castro of Cuba. So all are the charisma, so the superhuman, ability, personality with which they command authority. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what, the Max Weber said. That works. Even Indian politics, you have seen, MGR, Jayalalitha, there, Andhra Pradesh, of course, NTR. So it's, you can connect things well, I believe. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not only that. You can ask me, sir, there is no MGR, no Jayalalitha, what will happen? That charisma in its absence, ultimately, it's getting shifted to either legal, rational, or traditional. Say, for example, that of course we speak everything. Don't align yourself. I'm not representing any party in front of you, ladies and gentlemen. So let's be, that very balanced here, because we are teaching sociology, you are learning sociology, you are supposed to understand objectivity, not taking sides, not getting influenced. Yes, in the absence of, the Jayalalitha or MGR, what happens, right? Ultimately, the authority is getting shifted to traditional, that in the sense, who is the senior party leader? Let him give leadership. It may be that way. Or it may be legal rational. All MLAs will be combined together and they will conduct voting. But that happened in a different manner. What happened in Tamil Nadu politics, very well. It's totally different scenario. That is what. So it may be by traditional method of that particular party, they will choose the leader. Or it may be by legal rational. What law says, what constitution says. The floor of, the strength of the assembly should be tested. The floor of, the strength of the house should be tested. The floor of the assembly. That's what SR Bommai case we are talking about. It is that way. So it may be getting shifted to either legal rational or traditional in the absence of charisma, leadership. This is what happened in Tamil Nadu. This is what happening everywhere. So that's what Max Weber says. That's what happening now. See, that's why they are social scientists. They know this is what will happen. Of course, that's what happening now. Yes, the traditional authority we are talking about, it's not the belief, we spoke already, belief in the rightness of the established. You never question custom. Your mom will say, no, you have to do like this. Don't question me. This is what our system. This is what our family. You should not question. Do what I say. Mom will say, yes, mom. you would have done in your, the childhood, but after that you become rebellion. That's totally different scenario. Yes, what is that? The feudal systems of medieval Europe, for example, you talk about, you never question, you accept. Even the various religions, that when Islam itself, going for, reformations in different nations, but in India, because, they cite Sharia, Islam personal law. Of course, even there are some pro-reforms, there are some anti-reforms also, but it's that way, whatever may be the purpose, that should not divide us. That's very important. So we are talking about it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. Right. So rational legal authority. What is that rational legal authority? So the law, because of that, you get that. So you exercise power based on law. The law, the constitution, maybe that justifies, maybe you got various things. So acceptance of the set of impersonal rules. So maybe official rules, maybe the judge, taxpayer, military commander, all those people, they exercise authority because of the law. Law is backing them, ladies and gentlemen. So it is that way, sometimes IRS is said to be more powerful than IAS, because very well. But I'm not talking about, the straightforward officials. Corrupt officials will be afraid of IRS. When the IRS itself undergoing corruption, oh my God, please help me. It is that way, that they are afraid, because even all industrialists are afraid of this IRS mechanism. Why? The enforcement, very well, enforcement directorate, all those stuffs, raid, the raid culture, all otherwise using the institutions for someone else's end purpose. It is that way. I think it is right time. Let's move to the next concept, bureaucracy. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, sorry. Thank you. Yes, bureaucracy, bureaucracy. Don't say crazy. Crazy rule. Of course, it has become crazy, lunatic. People mongering, power mongering, ready to go any extent for the sake of power. That happened in the past. Hope it's not happening in the future. That's totally different. Tendency of the power is to corrupt. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's different scenario. What is crazy rule? Democracy, ruled by people, of the people, Abraham Lincoln's definition. Cracy means rule. But bureaucracy, ruled by bureau. What do you mean by bureau? See, all officials in the government service, how they are sitting on the desk. That's bureau. Bureau means where you keep your file. Otherwise, the desk on which you sit and do the job. Right? Bureau means desk. Ruled by officials. That's what bureaucracy. So one of the major contributions on the part of Max Weber, that he justified to improve the efficiency of the capitalistic industrialized society. You need a system, a mechanism otherwise. That's called bureaucracy. What is this bureaucracy? Of course, ruled by officials. Officials ruling, yes. Even today, in every nation, the role of bureaucracy, the steel pillars of the nation, it is they run the show. But of course, that it's because of that they are not heroes, very well. They are executives, but ultimately political masters, they make law. Otherwise, the constitution is supreme. Constitution gives supremacy to people. For your kind information, ladies and gentlemen, from constitution, everybody is deriving. People may come, people may go. Constitution is same. But the very constitution itself undergoes, change. How? Because, that the people's leaders, the delegated representatives as MPs, ultimately they make laws. They discuss, they make laws, bill, law, act, ball in your court. We are talking all those things, right? So the constitution is supreme. Constitution ultimately accords supremacy to the people, ladies and gentlemen. So the rule of the people we are talking about. Whereas executives, they have to just implement the laws passed by the legislature especially. And there comes, if at all any conflict, very well, of course, there comes the role of judiciary to interpret, to resolve, and you got, that tribunals, the fast track. We talk about, various mechanisms, the high courts, district courts, high courts, Supreme Courts, apex court we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So executives, even once you become officer, the civil servant of India, you're going to execute. It's not questioning your master. Just, of course, you can add value to your political masters, thinking as a secretary level, sir, it has got this ramification, we can do this way. Definitely, that they will be in a position to listen to you. Otherwise, all policies, programs, chalked out by the officials. Got the idea? With the support of officials, only it is carried out. Of course, there you got, that a crucial role to influence the political establishment so that you see, you make difference. So, the very purpose is getting fulfilled, where you are working together as a team. It is not, one going against another. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way I'm talking about. So, organization with clear goal. Every organization will have its own goal. Got the idea, na? And that's why, the mission statement, vision statement we are asking. Yes. And you can also, as an individual, that's what, that Stephen Covey asking you, what's your vision? What's your family's vision? What's your organization's vision? All family members should have vision. That should be completely alignment with the vision of the family. Otherwise, over. You have to sit and talk, interact with people, even in the organization. That should not go against the very, the value system of the society, the goal of the society. If they are completely in alignment, there will be smooth life. But of course, I am not talking about you should have only smooth life. That's next level, so that you be part of the solution. It's not fighting everywhere so that you never reach the destination. No, I'm not talking about entering into conflict. So this way, that every organization will have its own goal and hierarchy of paid full-time officials, right? Even for 24/7, you are paid. You'll come to know. So with chain of command, the hierarchy, it talks about hierarchy. Chain of command, that even the government service you will come to know. From junior clerk to senior officer, they will write, they will sign. And only, that even, when I was, of course, my uncle, and he's at the secretary level. When I was visiting him, the secretary, he used to show me, right, this particular box, wooden box, even in the secretariat you can witness. All files will be kept in the wooden box. It has got route from CM to this particular, department to that department. It has got route. It has to travel. After that, only, the CM, by seeing all the signature, the chief minister, whoever may be, even that happens in the PMO. It is that way. So hierarchy, the chain of command. It is not straight away the PM will, put signature, or chief minister will put signature on a particular thing. It has to come through a channel, a route. It talks about chain of command. Of course, that goes with hierarchy also. Right, it is that way. So, minimum voluntary submission, that expects you to be submissive. Even in Tamil, panindanappapadugirathu, kudindanappapadugirathu, we are criticizing. So, that you submiss. You be submissive. You submit that way. The hierarchy is maintained. In Tamil, it's called. So that in bureaucracy, obedience is the core principle. It's not speaking against authority. The hierarchy, the obedience, the submissiveness to the higher authorities. That is what even the protocol speaks that way. How you have to behave. Got the idea, na? It is the hierarchy, who is first, who should be given the first, that importance in the hierarchy. Even all these things, all important government functions, they will strictly adhere to that particular protocol. You would have seen, witnessed. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So bureaucracy is all about, it talks about rule by bureau, rule by officials, especially every organization. It will have its own clear goal and hierarchy of paid full-time officials, the chain of command. Maybe that's governed by rules and regulations. Then the voluntary submission, otherwise obedience to the higher authorities. This is what bureaucracy. That you will witness in police administration mostly. More than that other departments, police departments use a clear cut. Of course, that I've seen personally. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So the concern with business administration, concerned with business of administration, management, and recruiting officials, on the basis of, of course, recruiting officials on the basis of technical knowledge, you got UPSC mechanism. Management, of course, you talk about, the CAT mechanism, whatever may be. So even it's not only mere recruitment process, beyond that also, the business, running of business administration and dealing with, expertise, maybe scientific establishments. The strict segregation here you witness between, private and official income. It's not bringing your, private income to the official purpose. And that anything happens, the vigilance and anti-corruption department visits, ultimately you can't say, sir, how come you can have money? Yeah, very well, you would have seen all those things. It's not bringing money, because it is that way. So there should be strict segregation and controlling and coordinating the complex of serious tasks, that the robust mechanism in place. It's parallelly controlling and also, parallelly coordinating. It is that way that works in the hierarchy, the chain of command, with, especially working towards the goal, the vision and mission, and the obedience, the lower authorities, to higher authorities, the governed by rules and regulation, and violations will be, they will be brought to the book, and the penal mechanisms accordingly. Right, it is that way we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So it is, this is, Weber's elaboration, of course, the very higher numbers. I think the next thing we are talking about, that in the bureaucracy, modern society, that especially, that you witness this rationality. Modern society is always identified with bureaucracy, that getting rationalization. Bureaucracy based on rationality. Otherwise, whenever you talk about modern society, definitely the mechanism of bureaucracy based on rationalization. It is difficult to deal with individual that is what the example, I think, that the movie Gabbar Singh you would have seen, and also in Telugu, I think Tagore, I think, and here in Tamil, of course, that Tamil Nadu, Ramana movie, India Against Corruption, one Vijaykanth movie came. That ultimately, that the whole case will be, cracked by a junior level police officer, a car driver to all senior IPS official, and very, that he will make efforts and bring solution. When all top officials are, that getting confused, unable to find solution. So newly appointed authority will start respecting the junior official. That's how the movie goes. You may have, special talent, extraordinary ability, but in the hierarchy, the chain of command, the rules governing mechanism, and expecting you to be submissive, your special talent may not be given space, may not be accommodated. Sometimes that may be rejected. That's why we say pragmatic. Otherwise, let me put this way, in a government office, especially the record room, there came one snake. You just imagine a situation. So that's what the story I used to tell for bureaucracy. How bureaucracy. So the snake enters. Ultimately, what will happen? So, oh, wow, record clerk has seen. Immediately he complained, that OA, come on, sir. OA, what is this? Wow, cobra. Yes. Then ultimately what happened? This, that OA complaining to junior assistant hierarchy. Then now junior assistant comes. Yes, cobra. Snake. Hey, don't do. Yes. Ultimately talking to assistant. Then assistant bringing, superintendent. Superintendent taking the issue, that ultimately RA. Assistant director, then deputy director. When the deputy director level it comes, ultimately they say, hey, come on, take the, that rules book, GO book. Is there any GO? What will happen what we should do when, a snake enters into record room? Because Wildlife Act is there. Hello, assembly session going on here. If anything happens, ultimately, that minister, ultimately, we will be suspended. Don't do anything here. We don't know what is international laws and its ramification. Is it part of endangered species? Hello? Ultimately, that guy, of course, the deputy director or whoever may be, the department head, the senior most guys, with 25 to 30 years of experience, he may call up, that particular secretary, and he will say, yeah, this particular subject is under discussion in the legislation now, and don't do anything here. And if it becomes an issue, that probably they may throw me away from this, ministry. Whoa. And that parallelly he is talking to minister in such a way, hello, we are, that don't do anything, that foolish here. And we can't run the party here. And opposition party already waiting to accuse us here. The politician will be speaking that tone. So the snake watching all these things, ultimately what will happen? So tired of seeing everything, the snake, instead of, spitting venom, it will spit saliva. Thu, it said. It will spit saliva and go off. This is what bureaucracy, red tapeism, procedural delay. All the think tanks, intellectuals in India accusing the first part, 4.5 decades we spoil our independence. In the beginning, that we reduced, that Indian administration to mere, getting things done. It has become, that the corrupt establishment, we did not, lay rules for the facilitation of, that the industrial growth or manufacturing sector boost. Of course, we had plans that did not. The mechanism is accused. So that is why, that of course, even Prime Minister Modi's, that recent, that venture, of course, lateral entry and bringing, appointing the people with the experience. Of course, it is not free from criticism. That's totally different scenario. So that straightforward officials, lot of criticism for every aspect. That's totally different scenario. And you got path, you choose facts accordingly. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. This is how bureaucracy, unable to find pragmatic solution. There may be one guy in the office itself. Sir, I'm a scheduled tribe. I'm from that particular forest. I know how to, capture. Hey, don't do anything foolish here. And let's check Geo. After that, you can do. So even you may be, that with individual talent. No, not at all. You won't be, because the hierarchy never allows you to be part of the solution. That's why it is called impractical. Bureaucracy, red tapeism, procedural delay, impractical, not accommodating, that exceptional talents. This is all the criticism against also parallelly. So difficult to deal with individual, because the system expects you to get conditioned. You have to get conditioned to that culture. After 25th, people will wait for salary. Not 25th, 20th itself. And waiting for bonus, DA, this stock. It's not accusing, that our one generation of people and their, their sacrifice. I'm talking about. So they get conditioned. So there comes what happened, the authority of that particular person for 25 years in a particular government service, even in the family, his own son or daughter in the first, as doctor, engineer, that whatever may be, the first salary itself, it's going to be, that 1 o'clock. What the dad is earning for the 25 to 30 years, when this son or daughter earning the first salary, because of the placement in MNC, their authority structure in the family is getting shattered. That's what we are going to discuss in the family. These are all the ramifications in the unit called family as a social institution we are going to talk about. But in the official environment, this is what the question, because they got conditioned. It is that way. So difficult to deal with individual peculiarities. Weber was quite pessimistic about both bureaucracy and capitalism, because when Karl Marx was talking about, that alienation because of exploitative capitalism and inhuman working conditions. That's why, that the workers getting, that alienated. Meaning is that powerlessness, normlessness, meaninglessness, state of aloofness, self-estrangement. We spoke in Karl Marx. But where, see, this Max Weber saying the alienation may happen because of bureaucracy also. The highly, bureaucratic setup, when you don't get opportunity to perform, what will happen? You'll throw away, you come out. That's what most of the, the people are doing. Because the system expects you to get conditioned and follow the rules, but but that's not giving space for pragmatism or unexceptional quality, talents. So you have to, it's like monster.com. We have to take you from there and to put somewhere else where you can shine. And it's not, that, but instead of feeling alienated, you can have alternatives. But here, for the concept's sake, we have to say, so Max Weber said, even alienation because of this, bureaucracy. That's why Max Weber was quite pessimistic about both capitalism as well as bureaucracy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about. Right, not only that, in modern mature capitalism, rational activity emphasizes order, discipline, and hierarchy of organization. That's what part, they're all ingredients of the bureaucracy you witness, ladies and gentlemen. So there should be, systematic structure, and there should be, the discipline, that all guys, that are deviating, they should be brought to the book. Otherwise, the top hierarchy ensures that all are on the same page. And also, ensuring that hierarchy, different yardsticks for different category of people. That's what, management, that's what leadership is saying. That's what bureaucracy also. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. That is what you witness on the part of bureaucracy. Yes. So the increasing dominance of rational action, so the rules, all of the actions part of bureaucracy is rationalized because of the rules. We become rules Ramanujam. I think you would have Aparajit movie, Onion, I think in Tamil, that rules Ramanujam. Logathila Nallavale Liya, that I think the famous statements. I think Aparachita, I think you watched that movie, how the people are, becoming rule mongering. Otherwise, a strictly rule observing citizen, how he will encounter the pragmatic situations. That's the case study for you. I mean, you can, so that you can connect yourself. Rules Ramanujams we are talking about. So the rule that justifies all of your actions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. So I think increasing dominance of the rational action on the process of rationalization, the bureaucratization is a prime example. That's what, the Weber, elaborating it is that way. The process of bureaucratization is all about that. Rationalization based on rules, ensuring hierarchy, ensuring submissiveness on the part of, the lower officials towards higher authorities. That's right. And rational action is an institutionalized form by rule, by law, by GO. Got the idea, na? That's what you witness in Harlamba's book, ladies and gentlemen. I think next. Yes. Not only that, to understand the bureaucracy, it is necessary to appreciate the type of legitimacy on which bureaucratic control is based. Ladies and gentlemen, so what is the backing? If you want to understand the very bureaucracy, you have to appreciate what legitimacy the bureaucracy enjoys. Is it backed by, that the rules and regulation or custom tradition? No doubt. Bureaucracy is, the legal rational authority. No doubt at all. It's backed by, of course, that law of the nation, the constitution. Otherwise, you got various acts, that IPC, CRPC, the family law, that you got various judgments, pronouncements of the Supreme Courts, they also, that a law ultimately, even the government order. Yes, you talk about all those things. Otherwise, resolutions passed by that particular, that the board we are talking about, that becomes law. So all these things, that the legitimacy that particular bureaucracy enjoys, we have to, the hierarchical organization is designed rationally to coordinate the works of many individuals in pursuit of, that large scale administrative task we are talking about. And organization, you got a goal, and goals will be, that split into tasks, of course, vision becoming mission, especially, that the task distribution, delegation, ultimately you talk about, and according to, that where you got, that recruitment mechanism, the large scale administrative task, right? So, that what happened, that demands, that the coordination of all those, tasks with the support of, the officials there and many individuals there. That is what justifying, that getting justified in the very hierarchy-based organization called bureaucracy. Ladies and gentlemen, you can come other way around. This is according to, Max Weber. Yes, I think it is right time. So, development of bureaucracy is due to the technical superiority compared to traditional charismatic authority. Because that the people are, that ultimate recruitment mechanism itself undergoing phenomenal change. You just go back even in UPSC 20 years back, if you see the GS question and today's question, it's totally different. The ever increasing complexity, that's what the unwritten rule on the part of UPSC. The complexity keep on increasing because the talent, the young talents, pool of talents, that ultimately it should match with, that the young generation and then, the thirsty. And also the parallelly, the developments happening in the society, maybe in terms of technology, the advancements, and that enriching the intellectual world, all these the things that should percolate down, ladies and gentlemen. So the complexity, because otherwise there will be the gap. The system will be in the top notch level, probably the people recruited may be unable to perform to that system, and that demands again skill enablement training. Why? So you can bring that in the very recruitment process itself. After that there can be specialized the filtering mechanism, the specialized the training may be as you are going to be part of Missouri as a IAS officer, even the beginning. After the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Police Training Academy, Dehradun, Faridabad, you got various training centers you are going to witness that once you that get recruited. So the development of the bureaucracy is because of the technical superiority, but that's not happening in the case of custom bound or traditional bound authority, even the charismatic authority. Why you did, sir? Leader said, I did, sir, by oral pronouncement. But that's why even the that IAS officer, even my students, I used to say, don't just say because of that minister said, this minister said. Get written. Get in that written that instruction. After that you execute. So you should have that evidence for every execution. We keep on telling that after that you should not be blamed. So that is why when the minister is getting arrested, parallelly you see a guy who supported, gave the machination, plot, plan, the officials also. Sometimes the officials may be innocent, ladies and gentlemen. So it is that way, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about. It is, I think, right. Some more. Yes, the strict control of officials, especially for the specialized, the task. So what will happen ultimately? It is limitation on human freedom, because you are governed by rules and regulation. You are tamed to the rules. You are conditioned to that rules culture. So that limits your human freedom as well as happiness. It's not like work from home concept. Even if it is work from home concept, when you try to meet the goal, when you undergo the system, naturally you will be adhering to the rules and regulations. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way we are talking about. So it ultimately that stops the spontaneity of ideas, spontaneity of actions, because it has got the process, it's got the procedure, it has got the chain of command, it has got the hierarchy. And that may stop your creativity also, limit your creativity, the talent. And whenever you want to initiate something, of course, it speaks. No, it should come through this way. By the time you lose your interest, it's not speaking against. I'm not speaking. So the very Max Weber was quite pessimistic about bureaucracy. But you are going to be part of bureaucracy. It's better you understand, so that I think that the current mechanism they keep on evolving. Ultimately, we are talking about. So whatever may be, once you understand this, so that you don't be part of. But that's not our purpose here. Purpose is to score more by understanding Max Weber and presenting Max Weber fantastically, and whatever may be the questions accordingly. Yes, so the individual's initiative also parallelly getting limited. So here you talk about the specialists are forced to be without spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, meritocracy is getting compromised. It's that way, because by the time they feel secure, settled, okay, no updation of technology, it's over. So that's why that even it's not only that that once the Communist Party in China, even I think Jack Ma, that the owner of Alibaba company, he spoke that way. So that it's not very easy to penetrate that the Chinese administration, especially the Politburo membership, and the very rigorous that parameters they have set up to construct that. I'm not speaking, I'm not boasting, I'm not appreciating, I'm not speaking in favor, but you understand this is observation on the part of Jack Ma, once in the TED talk, I believe. What happened, right? He says, see, it's very easy to become president of USA, but it is, even with that ability, you can't even go beyond the district level, the Politburo. So that is what his opinion. Maybe the rules and regulations very strict, the limiting factor that way. What is this? But I'm not speaking in favor, but it has got its own other side of the coin, a human rights violation, the corruption, and trying to, make the nation's debt trap. That's totally different scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, so here you witness in that sense, with all these ill effects in any bureaucracy, you call specialists, but without the spirit. That's what Max Weber. He was quite pessimistic about both capitalistic society and, the bureaucracy as well. Yes, the dangers of bureaucracy could be avoided by having strong parliamentary control. That's why even Prime Minister Modi's administration, you are talking about, so the underperforming, non-performing, that officials should be thrown out. It's good, that if you're coming voluntarily, that you don't like because you want to deliver more, but this is not supporting. But being part of the system, if you don't do, it is doing injustice. So of course, that's why the mechanism on the part of the government to throw away all those redundant elements, very well. So strong parliament control over bureaucracy. In India, that very well, executives are subordinate to the political masters. They can enrich, they can work as a team, that they can't go bias. And even the constitution says, once TN Session was that not giving proper space, the former chief election commissioner, thanks to his contribution for the electoral reforms, at the same time he became subject of controversy when he was not ready to share the platform with other chief election commissioners created by then government, of course Congress government there. What happened, right? Supreme Court that said no man is above the law. Shut up. All these things happen. So that is what bureaucracy can never that be smart. Even in the ethics in public administration, you are supposed to be that anonymous, that the civil service values you will come to know. So it's not that being like that shining or that familiar everywhere, as some people that go out of the system. I don't know. This you will come to know, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way. So the dangers of bureaucracy could be avoided by strong parliament, because politicians will never tolerate that when you try to outshine them, outsmart them. So not only that, the rule itself, the ethics governing executives, So state bureaucrats should be made directly and regularly accountable to the, that the parliament for all of their actions. That's what happening. So all appointments made at the central level in the name of president, all appointments in the name of governor in a particular state, ultimately. So the public service commissions, they have to table in the parliament, recruitment mechanism, how many people recruited, all those stuff, the well. It is that way. They are, no doubt, in India, clear-cut example, they are under strong parliamentary control. So Weber contrasted this informal structure of bureaucracy to modern formal rationalized one. Sometimes the informalism working. So that's why we say ethics is more than law. So by law, you can't fulfill that particular task. Sometimes you can apply ethics. Even the judgment, sometimes circumstantial evidence proving that particular person is guilty. He may be innocent, judge knows. After writing the judgment, he breaks that, the ethics. Of course, it is that way. What happens right here? So not by law, not by book. Sometimes you can't go by book. By informal mechanism, sometimes you fix. You be part of the solution. Weber, that contrasting with that, but modern formal, that rationalized one is always rule-based, rule-bound. So, that it is also witnessed in some places as a case studies. Right. So, let's come to, criticisms against this bureaucracy. The government bureaucracies exercise considerable control over political masters. Of course, ultimately, they are permanently ruling the country. They are guided by the constitution. Rule book, no doubt at all. So men may come, men may go. Women may come, women may go. For 5 years once, there will be drama, change of colors, change of combination, and change of marriage of convenience. Then it becomes marriage of inconvenience. The coalition politics I am talking about. So and whatever may be, but the permanent setup ruling the country, of course, steel pillars of the nation, bureaucracy, but they are governed by the constitution. They are guided by the constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So that's what law says you have to do. What law says you have to do. You're going to execute the law. That is the very purpose. That's what the government bureaucracies exercise considerable control over political masters. It is in that way, because it's so many ways in managing, administering, in making policies, formulating policies, executing policies, and identifying melodies and creating further. So it is not policy paralysis, sometimes paralysis of implementation. That's the main problem. A person who is on the part of implementation, when he or she is not doing, that's a huge problem. So exercise. So political masters, they can just make law in the parliament. Execution stays with bureaucracy, where they make difference in execution. So and fulfilling the purpose. Otherwise, purpose becomes complete only with the execution. Come back. Yes, the socialist government in Canadian province, that Saskatchewan, especially, this is the case study. That mentioned by all these things. Seymour Lipset. This particular, the thing, how they are. Not only that, you have to understand, Max Weber, that spoke about, that very pessimistic about bureaucracy and capitalistic system. You have to parallelly understand dysfunctional aspects of bureaucracy. Otherwise, in what way this bureaucracy is ruining that maybe you can understand, because function means promoting social order, dysfunction weakening social order. But we are in the conflict school of social thought perspective. We are in Max Weber, in the line of Karl Marx. But here, if you talk about parallelism, especially we have to bring structural functionalism to counter this conflict school of thought, especially that Max Weber, you bring R.K. Metten, Robert K. Metten here, dysfunctional aspects of bureaucracy because of its rigidity, the fear or absence of innovation, or sometimes you don't recognize that give space for pragmatic approach, practical approach. And there will be always conflict, the friction between officials. Even I have seen in some offices, maybe on caste lines, maybe on party lines, maybe trade union movements, or sometimes regionalism. The house is not in order, ladies and gentlemen, and there is no peace, no that ultimately productivity maximization. That is what that we understand. It is that way. Of course, no organization is free from politics. You consider that way. There will be power difference. Hope it's not getting. If it is complementary for the further enhancement, that's totally different scenario. But when it is going to lead to conflict that will bring down the whole system, that you witness in some public officials as trade union movements, whatever may be their political loyalty, friction between officials, and also it's not within that entity, friction between officials and public sometimes, because thanks to Right to Information Act, that with that you can caution the authority. It is democratization of information. The people can that caution the authority, right? So it is totally but it's not free from limitation, and it has got modality with which you can never question the authority. That is also that we hear as criticism. Right, it is that way. So conformity to official regulations became an end in itself. That's why that rule has become end. The very purpose of the rule that should benefit the people, that should serve the people, instead of serving the purpose, the people have become rule mongering, rules Ramanujam. They are very keen and strictly adhering to the law, but they don't understand the spirit of the law. So that comes role of that higher authorities to jot down, to make them understand, so that they're never going, all these things, it's instead of the becoming an end, the very purpose, instead of meeting the end, the rule itself becoming that end. Mere going to office won't work. What is the purpose of your going to office? Are you definitely fulfilling the purpose or meeting the goals of that particular organization? That if you start questioning, and most of the people won't go. Yes, conformity to official regulations, becoming end. But the rule, you have to understand, this bureaucracy is mean to achieve the goal, right? So bureaucracy itself, the rules-based organization itself should not become an end. So that's unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes, some governments going to the extent of saying, to pay salary to these government officials, we have to run this task mark. Why? Oh my God, the leadership, that lacking vision. You will come to know it is that way. So the means of bureaucratic structure and also, that personality you talk about. There are people's personality itself getting altered. Anything you say, come on, show me Jivo. Show me. All strict rule mongering. They won't be normal. That authority structure. And they have to understand the people are masters. They are simply their servants, public servants. Even Prime Minister says, I am Pradhan Sevak hai. But how many of the officials, you expect them to speak this way? And, of course, it is that way I'm talking about. So they don't understand. Sometimes people are rejected, not properly given treatment. I think, sometimes we encounter and we make them understand who they are. All these things happening in our day-to-day life, ladies and gentlemen. So it is that way. So the bureaucratic structure, the personality molded to that structure, and it has got its own type, very well. So all these things, that highlighted, that against. So, that some more things, I think, ladies and gentlemen, and I think it is right time. So, the formal official rules, procedures cannot, that maximize the efficiency. That this is by Peter Blue. And breaking official rules, sometimes you break the routine to increase the, informal mechanisms you talk about. So, that's according to federal agent Peter Blue we are talking about. So, we spoke at length because you get a lot of questions based on this topic. So, having granted its virtues, Its unquestionable advancement in modern society. Weber was the first to concede the vices, ill effects of bureaucracy. That's discussed in your another book, important book, part of thinkers, Francis Abraham and J.H. Morgan. So the Ralph Dahrendorf talking about conflict and quarrel among officials too. That spoils, that brings down the entire mechanism from its purpose. Very well. So now it is right time, as we spoke in the beginning, the role of religion in the development of capitalism, the role of religion in supporting economic development in a particular nation. So having analyzed all the world religions, that how Max Weber came to this conclusion, especially because of this contribution called Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So what is that? Failure of capitalism in the Oriental societies. Otherwise, Oriental society in the sense, Eastern Oriental countries like India, China, all these Asian nations. So they could not see economic development. His conclusion, because of the religion, the spirit of religion, which says Bhava, Punya, Karma, Dharma, transmigration of soul. Otherwise, they gave picture in such a way, accumulating money is accumulating sins. Even Christianity says Pavatin Sambanam, that Maranam. Once you accumulate sin, you will be paid. That the death is the penalty. Of course, it is that way. So the Eastern, but that Christianity with its Protestantism was supporting, the Western countries, the development of, capitalism. That's different scenario. Yes, the capitalism, especially, that, and Calvinism of Protestantism, it's a link. As I told you, that the very Christianity, you got Roman Catholic, Protestantism. In Protestantism, you got Calvinism, Methodism, Baptism, Pietism, you call this way. The Calvinism we talk about this way, which says work is worship. That spirit actually, that supported the economic development in all these nations. So otherwise, that Karl Marx, not Karl Marx, the Max Weber emphasized only effective affinity, one-to-one relationship. If you don't have religion, you won't have economic development. He wasn't emphasizing. It's not one-to-one. So it is that way. The causal pluralism. There are so many causes for the success of capitalism in the West. Religion is also one of the causes. That causes are plural, causes many. That is why it's called, that causal pluralism approach. And that, that approach, he came to the conclusion, right? The connectivity between religion and economic development, countering the very, Karl Marx. It is not economic infrastructure shaping superstructure. It is superstructure, other way around, shaping infrastructure, especially a non-economic institution called religion. In what way it's supported for the development of, economic institutions. That is the analogy. That is his, analysis also. Yes, the Reformation happened in 16th century Europe. The Protestantism of Martin Luther King and John Calvin, of France, from Catholic Church, came protest against the aristocracy on the part of Christianity there. That resulted in ultimately Protestantism. Of course, the Catholic Church with rituals, doctrines, loss of touch with common people, lifestyle, aristocracy, even the priest as princess, that everywhere. So it is a corruption. All these things, that's why, the people, especially under the leadership of Martin Luther King and John Calvin in France, that protested against, that resulted in the establishment of Protestantism, as a sect of Christianity, part of Christianity, religion, well. So Calvinism, the followers in England were called Puritans. They advocated simplicity, austerity, and complete devotion to the God. So that's what we are going to say. Work hard, earn money, don't spend. Be austere, be simple. If you work hard, if you earn money, if you don't spend, what will happen? It will get accumulated. That's why capitalism grew. We are going to criticize this point also. Ladies and gentlemen, so Max Weber said the Calvinism in what way supported the economic development. So in every religion you talk about two things. Every religion we have one asceticism, another one is mysticism. The asceticism that expects you to be very disciplined. Say, that work is worship, that attitude, be austere, be simple. Mysticism, something, that beyond, you can't explain. Miracle things, that the people take, some linga from, that tongue, you see all those, miracles, that are all mystic elements. You can't explain. Some magic like things they do. So, that, but they attribute with, blessings of the God something. Every religion, you got both entities. On the one side, it expects you to be disciplined, austere, simple. And on the other side, it talks about, that, related to divine, that you can't explain. And you call miracle or magic, whatever may be. But magic is totally different. Related to tribal society, miracle will be appropriate. You get mesmerized because of that. Right. So, what is asceticism? Asceticism says vocation as a calling. No job is cheap. Work is worship. You can also, karma theory, of course, say, that, but here Christianity, Protestantism, Calvinism especially, that ethics talking about this, ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. Right. So, in order to succeed in one's profession, one should not waste the fruit of his labor, especially in leading, wine and dine culture. You would have watched the movie Troy. Achilles, that recalls, I think, wine and dine. You enjoy, simply do nothing. And that's why Greece, country, that with external debt, especially 360% of GDP, the PIGS countries brought down European Union's growth story. But of course, beyond that European Union we are talking. But what is that? That's why leading the life, luxury life, instead of leading disciplined life and ascetic life to ensure continuous progress in one's profession, so that you bring laurel, bring resources for your community, for your society, then society moves to the next level. So this is what expected out of, that every religion, part of asceticism. So believer sees himself as if, sent by God, as an instrument of divine will. That is what asceticism, especially in Christianity. I'm not preaching here, ladies and gentlemen. This is according to the spirit of Max Weber. For your kind information, don't misunderstand me. What is said by Max Weber, I'm sharing with you. You will come to know when you go through the books. You understand the purpose. Yes. So it talks about, that inner worldly, especially when you talk about asceticism, further division. Inner worldly asceticism, other worldly asceticism. So inner worldly asceticism expects you to be very simple. When you that by heart, you have to perform the work sincerely. Don't spend the money. Earn money, accumulate the money, but don't spend the money. But otherworldly asceticism is totally different. That is what, Hinduism. There is life, and to enjoy that life, you give up everything. You prepare yourself in this life. You renounce the world. You be detached. That is what otherworldly, that's why India and China, they took this particular spirit. So the life, there is death, there is life after the death. There is life after the death. You prepare, through this life, prepare your body by deeds, so that, you go to, the paradise, not the hell. You go to heaven. That notion. So this otherworldly asceticism is the core principle. So the renouncement, innerworldly asceticism, especially you be by heart, you embrace. That is responsible for the success of, capitalism, the best. That's what Max Weber. So predestination as a religious concept involves relationship between God and his creation. So before the creation, God determined the fate, that the predestination theory. God determined the fate of the universe throughout all that. This is belief on the part of, the Calvinism, the Protestantism we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Certain persons are chosen, that elected by the God to reach, heaven, while others are condemned. This opinion, of course, that this particular, that the spirit, the people on the part of, Protestantism, they accept. That's why, they be simple. Okay, let them enjoy. I have to be simple. That notion. People be submissive, they readily take in, accept. They strictly practice also. The inner worldly asceticism is very crucial for this success of capitalism, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way. The Protestant ethics and spirit of capitalism, we are talking. So the major contributions, one of the major contributions of Max Weber, the criticism against it. But empirical evidence, scientific evidence is very narrow to support this. That is what the criticism. Max Weber, you analyze religions, you gave your thesis, but it's not that way. Now we are talking about 21st century for Asia. Hello, the very, that India, China and India going to share that, that leadership status. And India already has become, the global player role and given demographic dividend. Of course, we got our own difference, that with China, we have to catch up. We have to enter into competition, economic competition and diplomatic competition by reforming international institutions, right? But that's not showing. India and China, the 21st, 19th century for Europe, 20th century for, the USA, but 21st century for Asia. What Max Weber condemned, of course, the very, that Eastern Oriental countries, of course, you talk about Asian tiger economies. You got tiger cups also. Think about, Singapore, think about, that the very Korea, South Korea, and think about Japan. Ladies and gentlemen, Abenomics, how come even the Australia emerging there? So it is that way. So you have to take into account. So empirical evidence, very narrow. Maybe so something worked in those days may not work here. When the time difference, so it's different. As we criticize Karl Marx, we are criticizing Max Weber on this note. So England, the first capitalist country, the Puritans, non-belief over the doctrine of predestination. See, got the point now? So there were people to reject that particular notion those days. Of course, the Puritans, the follower of Calvinism, Tony talking about this. Capitalism requires consumption of commodities. Hello, the economic development when you talk about, the capitalism grows in the sense you will produce a lot of goods. Who will consume? You need consumers. Without consumers, without consumption, how come you can, finish the product? The economic cycle completes only when that all produced items are, when consumed, you complete the economic cycle. If you produce everything, you don't consume, you consume nothing, what will happen? But of course, it has got justification. You produce here, somebody else will consume. That's what, globalization is doing now. All developed countries are producing consumption by developing underdeveloped countries because these guys are got reduced to mere consumers. They come with technology, they make assembly line, industry here, they make cars, automobiles, even mobile industries, they sell everything here, ultimately they go with money. Here utilizing all the scarce resources and making the developing underdeveloped countries as dump yard, dustbin, and even utilizing the cheap that labor force. That's what happening. So the capitalism requires, but that's happening now. The capitalism requires consumption, but they never spoke about the consumption of commodities. So our consumption deals with hedonism. Pleasure is better than pain. As well as that demands that savings also, investment for the future. Got the idea na? So on the one side you talk about simplicity, saving for the future, but without consumption, without consuming the commodities. It looks contradictory. Capitalism you can never speak about without the production never complete without that the consumption. Ladies and gentlemen, so this contradiction that the people witnessed with that the very Max Weber's the contribution. Of course, as I told you, ladies and gentlemen, this is, I think, hope you would have understood, and that you can also watch again and again to get some more, and you can also type all your queries. And if you got any further clarification, you can also reach me through Telegram channel, that even YouTube channel. You can also watch me all my special classes, a part of Unacademy. So for this, the topic, of course, thinkers portion. So for all key terminologies, probably you please take first the help of dictionaries, that whether William P. Scott, Oxford, or Penguin. Then maybe your NCERT. Maybe then you go to Francis Abraham book. And to understand Francis Abraham, I want you to go through first IGNOU materials. IGNOU materials, thinkers, the fantastic explanation you can go through. But it is time consuming. You got summary portion, take notes out of it. After that, you come for that Francis Abraham. And if you find time, if at all you are interested further, you can go for Richard Douglas Goodman, but that's not mandatory. I think I've taken reference resources from different sources I've given you, and you can utilize for your favor. Wishing you all the very best and best of luck. We can meet for another thinker tomorrow, same time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Success Sampath. So far interacted with you. Welcome to Unacademy once again. You can use my referral code SUCCESS to avail 10% discount, and we strongly recommend Iconic program so that you become topper. That is not mere getting job, you are for career, you're going to be part of the solution. Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming you all the very best and best of luck. Thank you. Have a good evening once again. Thank you so much. Bye.